It's my time, it's my time. It's my time to ride. I'm young, I'm free. Can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to ride it out. It's my time, it's my time. It's my time to ride it out. It's your time, it's your time. Oh, cheers to all the haters, cause you proved to me that rising to the top was my destiny. And you can see whatever from behind me, but I'm still fly, I know. I'm still fly, let's go. It could all be words, I could be a hater like you. It could all be words. Clothes to make the man, but that poison's gonna kill you. From the inside out, it's time to say it with your chest now, say it with your chest now. I'm young, I'm free. Can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to ride it out. It's my time, it's my time. It's my time to ride it. I'm young, I'm free. Can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to ride it out. It's my time, it's my time. It's my time to ride it out. It's your time, it's your time. Oh, if you're on the bus, say yeah. Yeah. If you're on the train, say yeah. Yeah. If you gotta walk, say yeah. Yeah. Everybody's going somewhere. Yeah. Young or old, I really don't care. Yeah. Life has never really been fair. Yeah. So put your fist up in the air. Yeah. Say yeah. I'm young, I'm free. Can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to ride it out. It's my time, it's my time. It's my time to ride it. I'm young, I'm free. Can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to ride it out. It's my time, it's my time. It's my time to ride it out. It's your time, it's your time. Oh.
Love interrupted by tragedy, lost in the drought of nightfall, running in search of the remedy, trying to find her place in it all, focused only on the negative. All she can attract is pain. Perception is what will manifest. Thought she could escape, but it's all the same. Birds fly south for the winter, but she ran to the west side. And though much was stolen, much still abides. And I know she'd rather keep her distance, but as time moves on, she's drifting away. Drifting away from me. But did the ocean breeze specify you? Did the palm tree sanctify you? I bet the ocean breeze did advise you that you'll never find you on the run from yourself. On the run from yourself. Concrete will shape to quicksand. Just when you think you're in control, but you're not alone. Take my hand, no shame in the surrender to a bigger picture. Birds fly south for the winter, but you ran to the west side. And though much was stolen, much still abides. And I know you don't wanna burn bridges, but as time moves on, you slipping away, slipping away.
NathanIvy.com. Mr. Ivy know the show must go on. And for Cincinnati, man, I put on. Tunes made another flame beat for me to cook on. Raised dogs, close this, yeah, too strong. Team AI, chop it up at the chop shop. Top notch with the king flow, the hot shot. Cop squats in, listen to the real. Jumping like hopscotch, nobody harder than, oh, no, think not. Not only citywide, but nationwide. Superlatives, keep it locked like them Haitian guys. Put the truth in the airwaves, we talk about it. Brand new like the templates, let's be about it. Who got the info about it? Hey, yo, John be the rapper, got them jamming when they play him. Staying in my lane, they ain't gotta okay him. Who the host with the scoop? Yeah, they gon' say him. Ivy, so superlative like a bag of drippos. Show you where the bricks at, Cincinnati Reds at. One time where my people at. Team NI where my people at. It's the 513, yeah, you know the flow. What's the word, Nate? Let them know the show. One time where my people at. Team NI where my people at.
Good morning to you. Welcome back to the last honest place in America. And most certainly your morning destination for interesting conversation. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. And good morning to you. Hope you're doing well, family. On today's show, I want to talk about numerous things, but I want to kick it off to explaining to you what Adrien Broner and law enforcement have in common. An Ohio man was dragged from his car. Now, this story is a few days old. And since it's from Ohio, we got to talk about it. A black man who actually, as it turns out, was a paraplegic, and which means he doesn't have the ability to walk, was dragged from his car by Dayton Police because they suspected that perhaps he has something to do with the drug economy. To me, it's yet another example of how the war on drugs is really a war against black people. But we want to talk about this, right? 513-873-7134. That's just the tip of the iceberg, fam. That's just the tip of the iceberg. So much more to discuss this morning. And I want to talk with you right here, right now. Again, 513-873-7134. And damn, I mean, an election is what, 3 weeks away? I still thought that we'd see a whole lot more. I don't know. I thought I'd see more like advertisement, like line, those line signs. I'm seeing more and more of them, but I thought I would see even more than I do. I don't know. We'll discuss it. 513-873-7134. Let's talk about it, family. How are you? Hope you're doing well. How was your last 24 hours? Hopefully it was good. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Hopefully so. Hopefully so. Good morning to you. Hope you're doing okay. Let me see what's up with my Chopper family. What's up, Sharp? What's up, Ray? Good morning to you. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Got a lot of comments even after we got off the air yesterday about yesterday's show, about the Dave Chappelle series. We didn't talk about it yesterday, but yesterday was Indigenous Peoples Day. I think that should resonate with black people everywhere. No longer should we call it no damn Columbus Day, Christopher Columbus Day. He don't deserve that honor. She doesn't deserve it. I'm sorry, he doesn't deserve it. We don't deserve it. I mean, just think for years and years and years, you know, public education was teaching us about some damn Christopher Columbus, like he did something real special. And I'll say it again, never made sense to me once I got old enough to understand it. How do you discover a place where people already live? That's like somebody coming to your house and looking around because you're at work, right? Or you just, you know, you sleep, you don't answer the door. They're like, I guess nobody lives here. This is my home. Don't work that way. I'm sorry. Also, I want to, a lot of people have been talking about the death of Jelani Day. Jelani Day, young brother, his body was found, and there's been a lot of information put out there, and in some cases I wonder if it's misinformation, but his mother spoke out about that case, and I'll give you my thoughts about it. His body was found in a suburb of Chicago, in a body of water. Very unusual, but there was some misinformation that was put out there. His mother, within the last 24 hours, sort of corrected everything. Plus, we'll talk about John Gruden, the now former head coach of the Oakland Raiders, who stepped down recently because of some racist, homophobic, and sexist comments that he had been making. Apparently, he made some of these comments as much as 10 years ago. But, in the digital world, everything is permanent. And the emails came out and he caught up with them. But it's just amazing how that works, man. It's just amazing how this stuff didn't come out beforehand. And then some of the comments that allegedly are being attributed to him via email are eyebrow raising, to say the least. So stick around with that. I know the Oakland Raiders were off to a good start. Were they 3-0 or 3-1 or something like that? What's up? What's up to the Oakland Raiders fans out there? If you live in Cincinnati, you cannot be an Oakland Raiders fan. You got to be a Cincinnati Bengals fan. It just comes with the territory. Anything less is uncivilized. And we are very civilized people here. We are very civilized people. Hold on, what's that? Hey, I don't know what the hell that is. Good morning to you. Hope you're doing well. Very civilized people. Not sure if you heard about this with John Gruden. If not, you'll hear about it this morning. But let me get back to the cover story here. And I've got a clip for you I want to play for you. You may have already seen it. This story goes back to like last week, quite honestly. Now, we're talking about other things. I didn't get a chance to touch it, but it's an Ohio story. So, we got to touch upon it as well, my family. You already know we got to talk about it. And you can find this on YouTube at the Dayton, Ohio City Government's page. So this is I believe, in the public domain. You can check it out for yourself if you'd like to. But let me give you the backstory on this, because the backstory is everything. It's everything. Dayton police dragged a paraplegic man from his car after he told them he couldn't get out. You might have seen some of this. It's made all the rounds. It's on all the media platforms. People have been talking about it. As a matter of fact, this happened last month. And officers stopped Clifford Owensby back on September 30th as he was driving away from what people say was a suspected drug house. Because of his past felony drug and weapons history, officers wanted a police canine to conduct a free air sniff of the vehicle to determine if there were illegal drugs inside. That's what they said. And how many times have we heard something like this? Like, how many times have we heard something that starts like this, where they suspect you having something to do with the drug trade? Which is the bigger evil? Dealing in drugs or police brutality? Which is the bigger evil, right? Because I'm going to read to you the comment of somebody associated with the police department up in Dayton. And essentially what he says is that what you're about to see is the way law enforcement is supposed to work. And yeah, sometimes it's ugly, but that's the way it works. That's the way it works. And when I play this video for you, I want you to tell me if you agree. And again, all of this is done under the banner of fighting against the scourge of drugs and also illegal guns. It makes me wonder, like, from a police perspective, were they more concerned about the fact that he might have been dealing with the underground drug economy, or the fact that there might have been some firearms, right? I think, we just got this knee-jerk reaction when it comes to firearms with black people in certain neighborhoods, right? Think about Avondale. We talk about all these shootings in Avondale. I've never heard anybody say anything about how they're going to start like arming the good people in Avondale, how we need we need more guns in the hands of good black folks. You never hear that. It's always about some gun buyback stuff or turn your guns in. It's always something like that. And that's just my observation. I could be wrong about it. You tell me. But again, just broad strokes with it, family. Which is the bigger evil, in your opinion? Is the bigger evil someone who's dealing in drugs, or somebody who's dealing with illegal guns, or police brutality? I think we got to make a decision about that, because on some levels, that's the way some people are going to look at this. Now, police still have to follow proper procedure, right? Whatever they're being trained to do or whatever the community relationship and agreement is. And when they step outside of that, even though they might be trying to do the right thing and they might be working to do the right thing, right? Which is keep our community safe, but they might do bad things while trying to do that. That's not okay, right? But I want to play this for you. And I want you to tell me what you think. But before I do, there's a couple of more quotes that I want to read to you. I think it's very, very interesting. Quote, the officers followed the law, their training, and departmental policies and procedures. Sometimes the arrest of non-compliant individuals is not pretty, but it is a necessary part of law enforcement to maintain public safety, which is one of the fundamental ideologies of our society. Now, you know, some black folks are going to automatically hit the alarm button and the police are wrong, And when it's time to do that, we do that. But we like to look at things and try to be objective. So I want you to look at this situation objectively. When I play this video for you, do you believe that Mr. Owensby is being non-compliant? Do you believe that Mr. Owensby is being non-compliant? Would you like to know what he was charged with? I'll play the video first. Then I'll tell you two things. I'll tell you what the police found in his car. And then I'll also tell you what he was actually charged with. Okay. But first, I want you to check out this clip and tell me what you think. All right. You ready? Are you sure? Rotate.
What's your name again? Owensby. Clifford Owensby. Who's your driver's on the car for the police? Yeah, I'm not used to the car. Yeah, I'm not used to the car.
I can't step out the car, sir. I'm a paraplegic. I got help.
Well, I'll help you getting out. Excuse me? I'm gonna help you getting out. Get out. Excuse me? I'm gonna help you get out.
Well, I don't think that's gonna happen, sir. I don't think that's gonna happen, sir.
I do. I'm asking you, but I'm telling you. So it's not an option.
Hold on one second here. Hold on. I'm hearing double. I don't know why I'm hearing that. You hear that? It sounds like you're hearing it for twice. We don't want that. But let's go back to it. Let's roll tape. Hold on. I think you can hear it good enough.
The problem is that in our history, I'm going to have a dog in the free air on the car. You have to be out of the car.
I can't get out of the vehicle, sir.
Sir, I'm going to assist you. As someone assist you.
No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not going to touch me. And I'm definitely not about to touch me. And I'm about to go ahead and get somebody on the line. Because it will be a lawsuit if you put your hands on me for no reason, bro.
Well, the reason is that I'm asking you.
No. We ain't going to go there. We're about to get somebody over here that's about to witness what's going on.
That's right.
I cannot step out. I'm a paraplegic. I cannot. I'm a paraplegic, sir. Come on, bro.
Step out of the car.
I cannot step out of the car. I cannot step out of the vehicle.
You got in the car. You can get out of the car. You got in the car.
Hey, bro. Can you come down the street to Ferguson and Grand? The police just pulled me over and they trying to make me get out the car, and I'm telling them I'm a paraplegic. I can't get out the car without no help and shit. These motherfuckers motherfuckers trying to fucking, they on some bullshit. Just come down the street, bring some people with cameras. Come down the street, come bring cameras and bring somebody so they can witness what's going on. I'm not getting out. I just told you I'm a paraplegic. I cannot get out.
I do not have to. I do not have to.
Can you call your white shirt, please? If you pull me out of here, you better expect.
So here's the thing. I'm gonna pull you out and then I'll call a white shirt because you're getting out of the car. That's not an option. You're getting out of this car, so you can cooperate and get out of the car. I'll drag you out of the car. Do you see your two options here?
Well, I mean, maybe under a normal circumstance, you know, the brother's got an option, but the man is clearly telling him that I'm a paraplegic. So if you're an officer, do you believe this? Do you not believe this? I mean, what are the protocols? What are the rules? You know what I'm saying? Like the officer is asking him to step out of the car. He cannot step out of the car, right? That's clear. But if you're the officer, you don't know that. I'm sure officers hear all kind of nonsense every day, all day. People talking yabba dabba doo and telling lies and making up shit. They don't really know. So what's the rules? I don't know. You tell me. 513-873-7134. Do you believe that this man, his name is Clifford Owensby, do you believe that he is being non-compliant? I'm going to play the rest of this video. I might roll back through it one more time for the people that are still trickling in. And then I'm going to tell you what he was charged with, because he did receive several charges. And then I'm also going to tell you what they found in the car. So stick around. But let's get back to it. Okay, roll tape.
Now, what would you like to do, sir?
I would like for you to call your white shirt.
I will. Get out of the car.
Come on, bro.
Get out of the car. Get out of the car.
Listen,
get out of the car.
I am a paraplegic, bro. You can fucking hurt me.
Get out of the car.
You can hurt me, bro.
Get out of the car. Get out of the car.
What are y'all doing, bro?
You're making me.
I'm a paraplegic, bro. I'm trying to tell you that I got help getting in the car. Y'all can fucking hurt me. They can hurt me.
Get out of the car.
Damn, bro. I'm a paraplegic. Ow.
You have to get out of the car.
Ow.
Get out of the car.
So a lot of people have been talking about the fact that he was actually dragged out of the car by his hair. You can see it clearly right here. We'll roll it back one time with no sound. We roll it back for you. Check this out. Yeah, right there. Is that too far? Is that going too far? Paraplegic or not, they like, hey, you coming out. Should the officer say, okay, you're paraplegic, okay, so we're gonna lift you up and hold you and pull you out? Again, these is all done under the banner of fighting against the scourge of drugs, right? The police suspected that he was in some way involved with it. And I guess they ran his plates and they saw that he had a history of drug possession and also firearms charges. So they pulled him over thinking what? But again, this all comes from, you know, this fight against the war on drugs. So I'm asking you, which is the bigger evil? Is the bigger evil, there's one that's open. Okay. Is the bigger evil, is the bigger evil the drugs in our community or the drugs in the community fighting against drugs? Or is the bigger evil Conan barbaric police officers? You tell me. Because Conan was a barbarian and this is barbaric. Some would say this is barbaric. Now, some would say, hey, you should have just, you can't step out your car, but you're a paraplegic. Get on your hands, drag yourself out. Is that unreasonable? The police say, hey, listen, step out the car. You can't step out because you're a paraplegic, but you can step out with your hands. You can do that. Why didn't he do that? Some might ask. Again, I just want to have the conversation with you. I want to get your thoughts about it. At 513-873-7134. Would you like to see the rest? Let's rotate.
Oh, you have to get out of the car. Get out of the car.
Somebody help!
Something right here.
Somebody help!
Stop.
Somebody help!
Stop.
Someone help! Stop.
Now, this is always interesting to me when, because you've seen this scenario many times before, where you'll see somebody that's interacting with law enforcement and they'll start screaming for help. Somebody help, and the help never comes, does it? Who gonna help you? Who gonna help you, boo? Who? Though it's very few brave souls out there that's about to step in the middle of a situation like that. Very few brave souls. Don't nobody. That's rare. I mean, just go back to what happened with George Floyd. They didn't intercede. They stood there and they was talking that talk and saying things to the officers as they was doing what they was doing. But who's gonna help you? And it's just so interesting that you see this over and over again. You hear this over and over again. Like, I've seen so many of these kind of videos. And oh, by the way, a lot of people don't like to play and watch these videos, and I totally respect and understand it. I'm of a different mind. I like mine raw. Give it to me raw. Give me the real. I want to see it. Don't censor it. Don't sanitize it. I want to see what really went down, especially when it's interactions with law enforcement. That's just me. That's just me. But you hear this all the time. Help me. Help me. Somebody help. Help never comes. Ain't nobody coming to help you, B. We'll see you down at the courts. We'll get you some bail money because people already know. Don't get in the middle of that. Because what happens if you come running over like Dudley Do-Right, right? You're going to help this brother. What you think happens next? You'll be laying right next to him. That's what'll happen. You'll be laying right next to him. Now, if it's like somebody's mama, somebody's father, family member, I think I've seen maybe one or two instances of that where mom will come in because that mother instinct is very, very powerful, and she'll go down with them. But don't nobody come helping you. Help me. It's like, dude, you on your own. We'll get you some bail money together.
Somebody else, I'm a paraplegic. Stop. They are doing the things to me. Somebody please help me. Stop. You are hurting me. I'm a fucking paraplegic. Stop. I'm a paraplegic. I'm a paraplegic. Stop. Make this worse than it needs to be. I'm a paraplegic.
Well, my question is, what are they telling him to stop doing? Are they telling him to stop talking? You can't talk now? What are they telling him to stop? Are they saying him to put his hands behind his back so they can arrest him? The officers, it's like he's causing a scene, and it's like they're reacting to it like, come on, man, you making this a whole lot worse than it really need to do, bro. We just gonna handcuff you and put you in the back. A sidebar when it comes to handcuffing, I've said this to you before, and I most recently there was an apology that was made to a black family, because one of their family members died while in custody. You want to know how they died? How this man died? This man died because he was hogtied, which means that you're on your belly, your hands are behind your back, and your legs are up. I have said this before, I'll say it again. You got everyday, just Joe Blow, average, very law-abiding citizens, and having your hands behind your back and your face in the grass is subject to you having a cardiac arrest, or, having some kind of anxiety attack, or having a very, very serious health incident. That is not a normal position to be in. A lot of Americans are, I'll just be blunt with you, out of shape, and they just can't stand having that, especially being face down in the grass. That is a very serious situation. I just saw it last week, and this particular man, he passed while in custody. They put him in the back of the police car. Man, now, matter of fact, he was face down in the grass, couldn't breathe, had a cardiac arrest right there. Police weren't touching him. That is not a normal position to be in. That is not normal. That is a very uncomfortable position, face down in the grass like that. All of a sudden, you have all kind of issues. Crystal writes, I know the family. Is that right, Crystal? Sister Iris writes, I would have helped. I believe that about you, Sister Iris, 100%. Nat writes, fascism. Is that right? Angela writes, my nephew testified in the George Floyd trial when he was the clerk, Christopher Martin. He was traumatized by what happened to George. He thought it was his fault. Wow, that was your nephew? I remember his testimony. He did seem shook. He said he was shook. He said he wished he would do things all over again. He wouldn't even make a big deal about it. He would let it go, because he felt like George Floyd didn't know that it was a counterfeit bill. But again, we talking about $20. We talking about $20. Do you see, let me be blunt here. Do you see any fault in the way that Mr. Clifford Owensby handled this situation? Let's start right there, family. Do you see any fault in the way that he handled the situation? Because we all got choices, and you can't say that this man didn't have no choices. He had a choice, family. Stop making excuses. He could have crawled out on his hands. He could have crawled out on his hands. And you can't tell me he couldn't have. Let's stop playing. We don't lie to each other here on the Nathan Ivey Show. We keep it real. Some may argue, and I am arguing this for the sake of the conversation to get us rolling. But some might argue that Mr. Owensby, even though he's a paraplegic, could have crawled out on his hands and abided by the police commands. Is that unreasonable? Well, as I sit here, I would say no. I would say no. I don't think it's unreasonable. And I'll tell you why in a second, but rotate.
I gave y'all everything y'all asked for. Cooperate. Can y'all call the white police? Can y'all call the real police, please?
That's very, very interesting when he says, can y'all call the real police? Right? That's like commentary about the job and about how he views the way these officers are looking at him. Like, right or wrong, I mean, that's what the brother said. Can y'all call the real police? And who would that be exactly? The other Dayton police officers that are essentially their brothers in blue? The real police. Huh. Do we need real police? What does that mean exactly? Is there anything there that we should, I don't know, spend more time on? I just thought it was interesting. I've heard that before as well. Where the real police at?
You make it so much harder than what it has to be. You make it so much harder than what it has to be.
That officer just said he's making it so much harder than it has to be. Is that true? Is that true? I'll ask you again. Did Mr. Clifford Owensby comply? Did Mr. Clifford Owensby, in your opinion, do anything wrong? Did Mr. Clifford Owensby do anything to escalate the situation? And I understand the brother's a paraplegic. I get it. I get it. But you can still crawl on your hands. And you can't tell me that you've never seen paraplegic people crawling on their hands. They do it all the time. That's how they walk around in some cases. It's the truth. It's blunt, but it's the truth. It's the truth. I'm just saying. Again, I want to provoke some thought this morning. I want to get you thinking and hopefully get you reacting.
I'm a paraplegic. I'm a paraplegic. These motherfuckers is doing me wrong, man.
That's disrespectful. Why don't you just get a man his damn shoe? That's disrespectful. You know the man's got one shoe. He may be processed. He may not be processed. Why throw the shoe back in there? It's like this attitude. You know what I'm saying? This attitude. And we've seen this before, you know, in a lot of these kind of videos where it seems like the member of law enforcement, they get these attitudes. It's like, yo, B, you're on the job. Correct. Conduct yourself. I seen there's a video of a black Cincinnati police officer that was reacting to what amounted to like a neighbor dispute. Have you seen it? This black Cincinnati police officer start going in, start cussing and threatening people and what he gonna do, and I do this and I break you. I'm like, damn, yo, be professional. Professional. Even when you get the questions, even when you get some difficult questions. Let me see here. Let's finish off the
I don't fucking like I can't do nothing. I don't fucking like I can't do nothing. You got the rules on my back. I don't fucking paraplegic. I don't fucking paraplegic. It's about to make shit worse. I'm trying to talk to you and say.
I'm not trying to talk to you.
You a fucking lie. I'm sure it is.
That's on camera.
well, he did try to talk to him. We heard him. He told him straight up, this is what this situation I'm dealing with. But they didn't want to hear it. So I don't know enough about the Dayton Police Department and their community relationship. I don't know if they've got rules in place, sort of like we do in here in Cincinnati with a collaborative. I don't know if this might lead to greater training in terms of how do you respond in the future if somebody says they're a paraplegic. I don't know if I'm a police officer. I mean, if somebody said they're paraplegic, I might ask them like, man, please, you just playing games. I might do that for sure. But at the point in which they seem like they sticking by their guns, we'll just lift you up and take you out the car. If in fact that's what we're trying to do. Somebody asked a very important question. Sister Irish writes, please answer this question. Get out the car for what? That's a very fair question. Get out the car for what? It's a very fair question. But I believe that the police have the authority to ask you to get out of the car. I would imagine it'll go something like this. We ran his place, Judge, and we found that this particular Mr. Owensby had a history of drug offenses and also gun charges. So we wanted to remove him from the car because we wanted to search the car because he was leaving a known drug house. And we wanted to make sure that we were safe and he was safe. I think it'll go something like that, Sister Iris, right? We've heard that 1,000 times. That'll be the rationale. And as I understand it, the Supreme Court has backed them up on that, as I understand it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I can hear the arguments already like that. We've heard this 1,000 times. We know how this goes. So let me tell you what actually happened with this man. Authorities say they found a bag of cash containing $22,450 in his car. My son just said, that's a lot. $22,450 was in the car in a bag. Is that suspicious? I don't know. Man can't carry around his own money. I mean, that's his money. I don't know how he got it. My son is listening, answering the question. He's like, yeah, that's really suspicious what he just said. It's hilarious. What was he charged with? He was cited with or for failing to restrain a child because, oh, by the way, there was a 3-year-old in the back seat. There was a 3-year-old child in the back seat. And Mr. Owensby was cited for failing to restrain a child in the back seat and having a tent on his windows. So he wasn't charged with anything related to guns or drugs. He was charged with what I appear, these are like little smaller things. I mean, I think the restraint to a child is probably a bigger offense than the whole tent thing, but it is what it is. Police also, it's also reported that Mr. Owensby was cited for obstructing official business and resisting arrest. But he wasn't charged with either offense. So he wasn't charged with anything. He was just cited for not having a seatbelt on a 3-year-old, which is dangerous, and having a tent on his windows. So this man got dragged out by his hair. For what exactly? 513-873-7134. Dayton Mayor Nan Whaley, who is running for governor and dealing with her own sort of, some would say, corruption scandals. At least people are trying to link her to corruption scandals. She released a statement saying that the video was, quote unquote, very concerning. Yeah, well, what does that mean exactly, Nan Whaley? Very concerning. I mean, we know that. But tell me, do you think these officers was Conan barbaric? We know it's very concerning. You can look, everybody know that's easy. These politicians love to talk that talk, don't they? That I'm not going to really pick a side talk. They love to talk that talk, but it is what it is. Tell me what you think. Do you believe that the brother, his name is Owensby, do you believe that he helped to escalate this situation? Is there anything that he could have done differently? And let me go ahead and answer the question for you since I put it back on the screen. What does Adrien, Broner, and law enforcement have in common? Well, many of my long-term listeners have heard it before. I'll say it again. Anybody can get it. Anybody can get it. Just like Adrien Broner was the can man. Africans, Americans can get it. Hispanics can get it. Mexicans can get it. Same thing with law enforcement. Black people can get it. White people can get it. Rich people can get it. Poor people can get it. Mothers can get it. Paraplegics can get it. You can have Down syndrome. You can get it too. Anybody can get it when it comes to law enforcement. Anybody can get it. It's the truth. It's unfortunate, but it's the truth. But again, I put a few questions out there. I want to get your thoughts about this. I mean, let's be objective about it. A lot of people saying, well, why do you got to bring him out by his locks? I agree with you. That seems to be a bit excessive. But I would counter you with, look, I mean, I'll say it again. I just feel like some battles should be fought in court, and that fighting with police officers on the side of the road, I've seen it over and over and over again. It just seems to me that the citizen's always going to lose. It depends on the disposition, the attitude of the officer. But typically speaking, what I've found is that the citizen always loses on the side of the road. Now, they might win later in court, but on the side of the road, you always lose. Is there any moral of this situation that we can, I don't know, learn from ourselves and maybe teach our babies, or, I don't know, just absorb for ourselves? And again, my question is, I realize the brother's a paraplegic, which means that he's paralyzed from the waist down. And I sympathize. But did he have an option? Could he have walked out on his hands? I know that seems extreme to some, but to me, it seems very objective. I want to get your thoughts about it. So let me throw a number up on the screen there, 513-873-7134. Go ahead and say good morning, son.
Good morning.
Oh, boy. You okay?
Yeah.
That's a real samurai sword. He keeps telling us over and over again. We are live, local, and vocal this morning. Good morning to you. Ashley writes, good morning, Nathan and the Choppers. Charles writes, good morning. Naisha's in the house. She writes, good morning. Pat writes, good morning. Linda writes, good morning, Nate. Angela writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. Brandy writes, greetings.
Go! Get to the chopper!
For everybody. Andrea writes, good morning, Nathan. Brandy writes, G-O-D. Maybe she's writing good morning on YouTube. Daryl writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. Good morning to you, Brandy. Nikki writes, good morning. Angela writes, I seen the video. It was disgusting how they did that man. Okay. Naisha says she agrees. Agrees with what? I can't remember what I was saying at that point. Jerome writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. Good morning to you, Jerome. Good to see you. Nakia writes, Columbus did absolutely nothing. It deserves no credit. That's the native people. That's the Native American. My people, they absolutely some damn Christopher Columbus. I mean, that just goes to show you what this country, because yesterday was Indigenous People Day, and I didn't really spend a lot of time on it because we have some other topics, but you know how I feel. I feel like Black people should support Indigenous Peoples Day 100%. You know what I'm saying? Some Black people, and you hear this, and I think it's a big mistake. Some Black people feel like the plight of Black people was the worst thing ever, and that we have a monopoly when it comes to being oppressed. That is not true. That is not true. Neither one of them. There are some people that have been completely decimated, and it was the native people of this continent, wiped away and pushed into Indian reserves, and that's the truth. And Christopher Columbus was a murderous, rapist bastard. Period. Point blank. Angela writes, I asked my 5th grade teacher, how did he discover America when the Indians were already here? Her face turned red as a beet. And yes, she was white. She couldn't even answer me. Exactly. How are you going to discover something where there's already human beings? That's that European supremacy. Oh, we're here. We're the first Europeans here. So that means we're the first people here. Get the hell out of here. It's one of the best things. Now, symbolically, they changed the name to Indigenous Peoples Day last year. Remember that city council? And there was some debate about it. You even had some damn city council members that didn't vote on it. Talking about we don't understand why. Get the hell out of here. This is easy. Some things are easy. My daughter said, I won't tell you what she said, but I believe there was at least one Black man that voted to keep it Columbus Day. Oh, man. Tanika writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. Good morning to you. TNT writes, good morning. Deborah writes, good morning. Nat writes, good Tuesday, Choppers. It is a good Tuesday. It is a good Tuesday. Aaliyah writes, Good morning, all. Again, I don't want to get lost in the good mornings, although that's my favorite part of the show, saying good morning to us. We deserve that. We deserve that. We deserve to be greeted in a very gracious and welcoming way. We deserve that, family. But anyway, I've already answered what Adrien, Broner, and law enforcement have in common. Anybody can get it. African Americans, European Americans, homeless Americans, wealthy Americans, immigrants can, anybody can get it when it comes to law enforcement. And shout out to Adrian Broner, man. I hate when I hear these stories about that guy, man, because I'm a Cincinnati dude. I want Cincinnati dudes to win. I just hope he turns. I know he just got arrested or something with an open warrant down in Kentucky. I don't know, man. I wish the best. I wish the best for the brother. I hope he turns it around. And I would hate to hear that after he ends his career that he's broke. I'd hate to hear that. He's been entertaining on some levels. I used to watch his YouTube. He had a YouTube vlog up. It was kind of interesting. It's called AB. AB. It was hilarious. But when I see these stories about the brother, I just shake my head like, damn. But it is what it is. Tiffany writes, bonjour. Okay, we on that bonjour this morning. Well, bonjour. Bonjour. Nikki writes, is he a paraplegic for real? That's why I said, man, assuming there's no grass or anything like that, you walk out on your hands. Is that unreasonable? You get pulled over by the police. You know how these police can be. Some of them can be. Some of them, nicest people in the world until they got to go there. You know what I'm saying? I know plenty of police officers, nice people, but you can tell they got a switch they can switch. And when they flip that switch, it's a whole nother ball game. You don't want to flip that switch. Nicest people in the world. Do anything for you. Great folks, right? But then sometimes officer shows up on the scene. You can already tell by the way they come walking up, it's going to be some Conan Barbaric type ish. They subject to do anything. And for me, I'm not in that situation for it's easy for me to Monday morning quarterback it or Tuesday morning quarterback it to be more accurate to what we're doing right now. But it's like, you can't, the police don't know whether you're paraplegic or not. They don't know. Again, I'm not an officer, but I'd imagine they hear all of the lies and every story you can imagine. They hear it. Okay. They don't know. They're telling you to step out. You told them I can't step out. What do? You got two options. The man told you. Either you're going to step out / crawl out on your hands. You're going to crawl out on your hands. Don't act like it's funny. It's not funny. It's just the way you got to get around if you're paraplegic. It's what it is. I've seen it on YouTube. I've seen it a million times before. You have to stop fronting and lying and acting like you ain't seen that before. The man had an option. He chose to sit in the car. Now, I've seen videos where white men were sitting in the car. The police are banging on the door. Open the door. Let the window down. I ain't let my window down. Let the window down. I ain't open the window down. Listen, if you don't let this window down, we're going to break this window and drag your ass out of here. I ain't let my window down. All right. And what happens next? Bing. They break the window and drag their ass out the window. I've seen that before. Straight over the glass. I've seen it where they reach in and then they open the door and drag their ass out. Something tells me, right, wrong, or whatever, that if you're in a situation like this and you're dealing with a police officer that is giving you the signs that they the real ones, they'll do whatever they got to do right then and there, bar none. You got a choice to make. And that choice is either you're going to get dragged out or you're going to step out or crawl out on your hands, period. Now, they might be dead wrong. They might be dead wrong when you get to court later on. But right there in that moment, you got a decision to make. He made his decision. They made their decision. And I'd like to know what you think about it at 513-873-7134. Let's be objective about this. TNT writes, who is escalating the situation? I would say that the officers initially escalate the situation. That's what I would say, TNT. Just by the way they approached him, they were so aggressive. They ain't really asked the man no questions. They're telling him to come out the car off the jump. I don't care what the scenario is or who you're dealing with. I've seen it with white women. I've seen it with black women. I've seen it with white men. I've seen it with white men, white women, or black men, white men, white women. I've seen it all the way around, right? If the cops roll up and telling you to get out your car and they're not giving you no explanation, the reflex reaction is to ask why. So what the hell I do? Step out the car for what? Because when you step out the car, that's the escalation right there. Like citizens, we understand that if it's just a normal traffic stop, then you sit in your car, hands on the wheel, right? But when they ask you to step out the car, we escalating things. We escalating things. Like, what do I do? What they about to do? And there is a general distrust between non-white folks and some white folks and the police department that is based upon a very real history that we cannot overlook. We can't overlook it and act like that when the lights go on behind you as a non-white person, and for some white folks, they feel the same way, that you don't feel a little bit of anxiety, and there's a big question mark about what's about to happen next. Whether you've done something wrong or not, whether you have warrants or not, whether you got drugs or an illegal gun in your car or not, you can be average Joe with no blow, pun intended, and no guns and nothing in your car, right? And you still gonna feel a sense of anxiety because you don't know what they're gonna say. You have no idea. Tell me I'm wrong on that. 513-873-7134. So to answer your question, I believe that the police escalated it, but the police, from what I'm reading, they thought he was coming from a suspected dope house and ran his plates. That's what it looks like. They ran his plates, saw he had a history. Your history is always before you. And police officers judge you based upon what comes up on a little computer screen, especially if something comes up on a computer screen saying that, you have some kind of physical interaction with officers. Oh boy, you're going to get the business then. You ain't going to get the benefit of a doubt. We already know that. Sister Iris writes, step out for what? I agree with you. They should have explained to him why they want him to step out the car, right? That's number one. And do you believe that they should have been more sensitive to him about him saying that he was a paraplegic? Shauna writes, the officer did state that they would help him out of the car. I heard that too, Shauna. I heard that too. So again, I know people are reacting, and black folks are reacting to this, and we should react to it. We got a good reason to react to this, but we also got to be objective. Let's be objective about this, and I want you to tell me what you actually saw. And just for a reference point, again, I'm not trying to be gratuitous with this or sensationalize anything like that. This is just for us. But let's go back so we can all have the correct information in what we're talking about.
What's your name again? Clifford Owensby. What's your name again? Owensby. Clifford Owensby.
Hold on one second, family. Hold on one second here, because that's irritating me. I'm hearing like an echo here, and I don't know if I didn't hear this when I listened to it earlier. So I'm wondering if this is something that just may have happened here in a second. Hold on. Let me try to bring it back. And I want to go back to what the officers initially said, because if we're going to have this conversation, let's have this conversation with all of the available facts that we have, so that so it can inform our opinions. Okay. So it can inform our opinions. All right. Check this out.
What's your name again? Clifford Owensby. What's your name again? Owensby. Clifford Owensby. This is Ferguson, 24 for the police. Right. Under your Yeah, I'm out of your car. I can't step out the car, sir. I'm a paraplegic. I got help getting in. I'll help you getting out. I'm gonna help you get out.
Okay. So he asked him, he said, listen, I want you to step out the car. He said, I can't step out the car because I'm a paraplegic. The officer said, well, how'd you get in the car? The man said, or Mr. Clifford Owensby, pardon me, Mr. Clifford Owensby says, he responds, I got help into the car. Pardon me again. I got help into the car, right? He said, well, we'll help you get out the car. We just heard it. That's what the officer said. He said, well, we'll help you get out the car. Again, family, I'm no legal expert. I'm just one man, one microphone, just an average Joe with a superlative flow. But in my humble observations, in those kind of situations when the officer say he wants you to get out the car, you're getting out the car. You're getting out the car. Now, you're either going to walk out the car or you're going to get dragged out the car. I've seen women get dragged out the car. One way or the other, you're getting out of the car. And yeah, family, there was a case from up in Northern Ohio where a white guy get pulled over. There was 2 state patrol officers, or maybe they were local law enforcement officers. And the white guy like flashed him a sign or said something. And the white guy, they ain't drag him out the car. And he had a weapon in his car. They didn't shoot him or anything. You're absolutely right about these different examples that are very similar, but maybe the citizen involved was not black, right, or not melanated, and law enforcement dealt with it differently. And I think it's fair on some levels to bring those up, but it's unfair because you talk about, in some cases, 2 different law enforcement agencies and completely different people, different officers. And really none of that matters. The only thing that matters is this case. What happened here? And tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe I am wrong. Maybe I've been watching the wrong videos over the last decade or so. But in all the videos I've seen, most of them, when a situation like that happens and law enforcement is like, hey, listen, we want you to get out the car. 9 times out of 10 in the videos I've seen, they get out the car. They either walk out the car or they're dragged out the car. Every single time I've seen them bust the windows and literally drag them over the glass. I've seen them open the door and open up a can of whoop ass. I've seen it 1,000 times. And I've seen it where, the person, I ain't getting out. And the officer, you could tell the officer don't want to go Conan Barbaric on them, so they let them ride on it. I've seen that too, but I don't think that's relevant. What really matters is this particular case. So I want to get your thoughts about it. 513-873-7134. I want to get your thoughts about it this morning as to what you think about it. But you can always leave a comment. You don't have to call in, obviously. Whatever you feel like. Deborah Nesbitt is in the house. She writes, good morning, Choppers, from the Voice of Reason. Shauna was 100% correct. We just heard it. The officer said, well, we'll help you out the car. Okay. And that's where I stopped it. Let's hear what happens next.
Excuse me, I'm gonna help you get out. Well, I don't think that's gonna happen, sir.
Okay. So the officer said twice, I'm going to help you get out. That's what the man just said. We can't act like the officer didn't say that, because we want to act like this is the same scenario as every other scenario. The officer just said, I'm going to help you get out. How many people believe that Mr. Owensby should have said, okay, sir, or not even sir, you ain't got to go there. Okay, help me out. Answer me this, family. If Mr. Owensby would have said, okay, put his hand out, help me out, would he have been dragged out by his hair? Would he have been face down on the ground? Would he have been dragged away? If I'm being honest with you, I'd have to say no. None of that would have happened. I'm just being honest with you. This is just what I'm getting from the video. Let's slow it down and look at it. Let's be objective about it. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else knee-jerk reactionary. We ain't got to be that way. We different. This is the chop shop. We different here. We look at things objectively. So objectively speaking, I'm not telling you what he said. You just heard what the man said. Again, family, there's a place to fight police. It ain't on the side of the road. That's not where you want to do that at. I'm not saying you got to bound down and be a modern day slave. Well, ain't nobody doing that. There's a time to put your foot down. There's a time for that. There's a time to peacefully resist. There's a time for that. That wasn't it, in my opinion. But what do you think? I'm going to play it back. You just heard the man. The man said, I'm a paraplegic. I cannot get out the car. The officer says, well, we'll help you out the car twice. Let's look for and listen to what his response is, Mr. Owensby. Let's listen to what Mr. Owensby's response is. Check this out.
I can't step out the car, sir. I'm a paraplegic. I got help getting out.
I'll help you getting out. I'm gonna help you get out. I'm gonna help you get out.
Well, don't think that's gonna happen, sir. I don't think that's gonna happen, sir.
I do. I'm asking you, but I'm telling you. So it's not an option.
Can I ask what's the problem?
Yeah, the problem is that because your history, I'm gonna have a dog be free around the car. You have to be out of the car.
I can't get out of the vehicle.
So, is that enough of an explanation? You tell me. You tell me. You tell me. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Shauna writes, how they drug him out was wrong. I would agree on some levels that dragging a man out of this by his hair is wrong. You know, you wouldn't want to drag anybody out with their hair. You could end up scalping them. Would it have been better if they dragged him by his shoulders? Would that have been better? Some would say yeah. But I want to say this again, Shauna. In my humble observations, you're getting out the car. So if they got to drag you by your knuckles, you get out the car. They got to drag you by your nostrils, you get out the car. They got to drag you by your shirt, that you get out the car. I don't think it was right to grab the man the way they did using his hair. But what do you think? So for the people who believe that this situation was wrong, let's say there was a different route to take. Because the police had options too now. I'm not going to make it seem like the police didn't have no options. The police had some options. They didn't have to be all Conan barbaric about it. They didn't have to be, oh, you getting out now, you getting out now. You heard Mr. Owensby say he wanted a white shirt, which is like, I believe, a supervisor or a sergeant to show up. As I understand, you have the right to ask for a supervisor to the scene. The officers could have said, you know what? All right, you want a white shirt? Cool. We're going to stand down and we're going to call the sergeant or the captain or the lieutenant or whoever. And when they show up, he can talk to you. Now, that probably would have took a longer process and some patience, because sometimes it seems like members of law enforcement don't have no patience. I said, do it now, damn it, and all this kind of stuff. Right now. You know, they want to start barking orders. You got to start dancing around. You know what I'm saying? So did law enforcement, the officers that arrested him, did they have an option? Of course they had an option. They could have exercised some patience. They could have said, you know what? You want a supervisor? We're going to call a supervisor. We're going to call a supervisor. And, you know, we're going to call a supervisor. And we all going to sit here. Turn your car off, sir. All right. And give me the keys, or turn your car off at the very least. And we're all going to sit here. And when the supervisor comes, the supervisor will tell you, and then you can get out the car for the supervisor. That might have taken 10, 15, 20, 25 minutes, depending on how long it took for the supervisor to show up. If they would have done that, none of this would have happened. Perhaps, we don't know. Maybe Mr. Owensby could have been like, I don't care if you're a supervisor, I ain't getting out. But we don't know because the officers didn't take that route. So the officers had a choice as well. But again, family, I got so many questions for you about this video. Like, this is all being done under the banner of keeping the streets safe from drugs and guns. Keeping the streets safe from drugs and guns, right? Everybody's afraid of crime right now, aren't you? All these reports about the crime rate and the murder rate and teenagers with guns. Where's the guns coming from? Where are the guns coming from? How are the guns get into our community, right? That's what we've been talking about here in Cincinnati. It won't surprise you to know that people are talking about this in other cities around the country as well. Where are the guns? How are the guns getting here? Drugs, and guns. What are we going to do about it? Well, this is what law enforcement is doing about it. So which is the greater evil? You know, police brutality or illegal drugs, or not illegal drugs, but street drugs and illegal guns? Which is the greater evil and the bigger evil for our community? I'd like to know and get your thoughts about it. Vincent writes, he also advised them, you can hurt me. He did. Nikki writes, that's going too far. Daryl writes, he asked for a white shirt field commander. Iris writes, facts first. You cannot search a vehicle based on someone's criminal history. That would give police a license to stop and search anyone without a record. But I think, as I understand it, it was two things, Iris. It was his history, but also that they said that he was leaving a known drug house. So they had 2 levels to it. Is that enough of a standard for the police to issue a stop? It looks like it on the surface. Officers stopped Clifford Owensby on September 30th as he was driving away from what police say was a suspected drug house. So from the police perspective, at least what they're saying anyway, is they're putting 2 and 2 together. 1, you're driving away from a suspected drug house. 2, when we run your plates, you got to pass history of felony drug and weapons charges. So I guess that was their rationale that they used. Crystal writes, they said they'll help him, but he wasn't going. That was very, very clear. Deborah writes, the standard from now on is all criminals should be taken to Burger King. You talking about Dylan Roof, the guy that committed the mass murder at Charleston? I hear you, Deborah, and I get it, the frustration from the Black community. And when these kind of situations happen, there's a lot of comparisons to what non-melanated people, how they were treated in similar situations or even worse situations, right? Because you're right, Dylan Roof, they took this psycho sicko to Burger King because he was hungry. You just killed 9 Black people in a church, no less. But that was a whole different situation, and I don't think it's fair to compare it to this, really. You got 2 different law enforcement agencies, 2 different circumstances, 2 different officers involved. But I understand your point, though. I feel you on that. Crystal writes, good morning, everyone. Sister Iris answers the question. She writes, the bigger evil is the war on drugs. So she's like, nah, it ain't the drugs in the community. And it's not police brutality, it's the war on drugs, which a lot of people, a lot of smart, intelligent people have written and spoke about this over the years. You know, there's a lot of evidence, and I believe it, that the war on drugs was tantamount to a war against Black and brown people. It was just a legal rationale to do exactly what we saw right there, because, you know, we're looking for drugs. We're looking for drugs, right? And we want to stop crime. So if we got to violate citizens along the way, well, you know, hey, things happen. Let's go to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Dear brother, none of that makes sense. So they saw him coming out of the drug house. How did they see him coming out of the drug house? He can't walk. Was he walking on his hands out of the drug house? None of it makes any sense. So, you know, I deal in facts, and I had to wait until I heard from the attorneys of Mr. Owensby so I can get at least some facts. And back to your bigger question, you asked about the Dayton Police Chief. Rick Bill comes from Cincinnati, raised under the collaborative agreement. He was the first executive director of our Community Police Partnering Center. So he's familiar with community problem-oriented policing, understands the disparities, or so I thought, around African Americans and police. He's done extensive training with us as we built the collaborative agreement out. So I'm extremely disappointed by what I saw. But I'm even more so worried that even if the officers thought that they thought they saw him coming from a known drug house, none of the statements that you're making can quantify violating a citizen's rights. Police, just like anybody else that's doing anything for the public, by the public, enforcing any laws, need to have evidence. They need to be able to substantiate their claims. And in this case, they couldn't. The bigger question for me was, when did anybody discover that there was a 3-year-old in the backseat of the car? If the brother said he was quadriplegic, there are some things that they could have done easily to see that. And secondly, it's on them. It's more on them than it is the citizen. They have way more training. They have way more options. They have way more utility than you and I. And most people are operating out of emotions and fear when they're stopped, just like they want to supposedly get rid of crime. We don't want to be beat to death and killed by police either. We don't want to be traumatized by the police either. So we see that just as much as we see violence in our communities. So one, really, you can't, it doesn't equate. So it doesn't equal. And that's what they say. We want to go home at night, so we shot anybody. Well, I want to go home at night and not be shot because you're scared to be a police officer, or you refuse to refrain and contain yourself based on the training that you have. This whole stop was BS. The video even looks suspicious. I had to take that comment down once I saw it. And we'll see how it plays out. You'll get the facts through the lawsuit. You'll get what should have happened. You'll get what did happen. And then you'll get how much the taxpayers have to pay. Mr. Owensby for this very egregious police encounter. It did not have to go down that way. And if they were really trying to bust the drug house, if they were trying to take the drug house down, then why didn't they go and raid and take the damn drug house down? Why would they do that? And even the charges that were lauded against Mr. Owensby, those are made up stock charges. Those are okay. So now we can charge you with endangering a 3-year-old. Well, how did he do that? He was minding his own business, going where he was going, doing what he was doing. So just because they launch charges against you doesn't make you guilty at all. So first, we're innocent until proven guilty, and we always should have that in mind, no matter what we look like. And for Black people with a darker hue, you must have done that, or they wouldn't have dragged you out of the car by your hair. None of those charges that he was accused of should require any of the treatment that he got beforehand. It's not the other way around. It's from the stop, which you know, how you handle it, and what happens afterwards. None of these things have to go down this way. Police escalated, that all of them need to be fired in my estimation, but we know just like teachers, it's hard to get rid of police because they're protected by qualified immunity. Somebody put that in the chat yesterday, and qualified immunity rests on the state level and at the federal level. It doesn't rest here locally. There's nothing that the city of Cincinnati can do on qualified immunity. So let me just say that. They could pass an ordinance, but it won't do anything but get another lawsuit, because then police will sue you for trying to violate their rights that have been created on the federal level to protect them. So there has to be provisions. I'm interested in seeing what Rick Bill has to say. I heard what you read the mayor had to say. The video, it looks extremely concerning. This is horrible based on the charges. It's horrible. That's all I got to say, Nate. You done triggered me this morning. I'm mad as hell. So let me go find some Cincinnati police to beat up on. I'm sorry.
All right. Thank you for the call. Appreciate you.
Thank you,
Sister
sir.
Iris right
Bye-bye.
there. What do you think? What do you think? I want to get your thoughts about it. That's very suspicious about the charges. He wasn't charged with anything substantial. He wasn't even charged. He was cited for resisting arrest, but not charged by it. Why not? It's very suspicious. She says, well, how they know he was leaving a known drug house? Was he walking away on his hands? Maybe he was driving away. And all of this went down with a 3-year-old in the back seat. I'm like, yo, Mr. Policeman, chill. There's a kid back here. It's like there's no thought given to how that might traumatize a child. Like everybody running around. We just had night out with the police, and I support it. I support anything that will make our community stronger and a better relationship with law enforcement and knowing our local law enforcement officers. I'm with 100%. Right. And again, we're not talking about the Cincinnati police, we're talking about Dayton police. But situations like this, you never know how this 3-year-old is going to look at law enforcement for the rest of his life. How that might traumatize somebody. I wouldn't let my son wanted to see the video as we were talking this morning. I wouldn't let him see it. He loves police officers. He's the police officer. He's taking the bad guys to jail. As a Black father, I'm looking at him like, damn, I got to tell him. And I'm going to. I'm going to keep it 100 with him. I'm going to bursting a little bubble and tell him the truth about it. But as I said before, I support law enforcement 1,000%. We need more good Black people, brown people, Asian people, all kinds of people to become members of the police force. That's the only way. It's a numbers game to me. We need more good, conscious people, strong people. Now, I ain't asking for no punks, but strong people to be on law enforcement so that we're in situations like this, then maybe they might choose something different. But again, I want to go back to my original question. Do you believe that Mr. Owensby helped to escalate this situation? Did he do anything wrong? When the officer asked him to get out the car, he said, I can't because I'm a paraplegic. Means he does not have he cannot walk. And the officer said, well, we'll help you out. He said, huh? So what'd you say? Nah, that ain't gonna happen. Should Mr. Owensby have allowed the officers to help him out of the car? And by not doing so, did he help to escalate this situation? Again, I'm not saying that I believe that the officers are right. What I'm saying is that I can't even remember. It's very rare when you see a situation like this and it doesn't go the same way we saw it. Now, I've seen them before. Like everybody's seen those cop shows where the woman don't want to get out. She talking super, super slick. And the officer just seems like he's struck. And you thinking like, well, go on here and, do what you do, Mr. Policeman. They just don't do it. Of course that happens. But clearly the officer asked him to get out. Mr. Owensby said, I cannot because I'm a paraplegic. The officer said to him 2 or 3 times, hey, we'll help you out. And Mr. Owensby said, nah, that ain't happening. I ain't getting out, period. Okay. Now, should it ever have gotten to that point? I don't believe it should ever have gotten to that point. But when you get to that point, you got a decision to make. He made his decision. They made their decision. I want to get your thoughts about it. 513-873-7134. Eloise is in the house. Hey, good to see you, Eloise. OJ Wellburn is in the house. He writes, it's very unreasonable, Nate. If he crawled out the car, then he would be expected that all people that are like him to do that. Okay. Callie writes, not getting out of the car. What do you mean by that, Callie? Wendy writes, let's just start with the officer didn't even say why he was stopping him. He just told him to get out the car. Well, I'll see if I can find another source of the video that has better audio, but the officer said, we want the drug sniffing dogs to come and you can't do that while you're in the car. I think that's what he said. Now, is that a good enough of a rationale to explain it? You'll have to make your own decision. All right, while you're pondering on these questions this morning with this first topic, I want to remind you that early voting is taking place right now in Hamilton County. Now, it's too late to register. You didn't miss that one. And also double check with the Board of Elections to make sure you're not going to be expunged from the voter rolls if you haven't voted in the last few elections. Just double check, okay? But early voting is taking place right now through October 6th. You got a lot of decisions to make, right? And I'm going to leave this on the screen, and you're going to hear a word from a few folks that want your vote. All right, so take a listen, and we'll be right back. Remember, these are ads. They are not endorsements. These are advertisements, not endorsements. I'm not personally endorsing anyone. All right, check this out. We'll be right back.
Good morning, Choppers. I'm Scottie Johnson, candidate for Cincinnati City Council. Unfortunately, injustice remains in the city of Cincinnati. A remedy for injustice is courageous, bold leadership. I plan on bringing that type of leadership to City Hall. It's time to stop talking about it and to start doing something about it. Disparities have been in Cincinnati far too long. I'm the candidate to address those disparities. Vote Scottie Johnson for Cincinnati City Council.
Paid for by friends of Scottie Johnson.
I'm former Mayor Dwight Tillery asking you to vote for my friend, Michelle Dillingham, who is a Democrat running for Cincinnati City Council. The black population in our city has declined, pushing black homeowners out while speculators purchase their houses for pennies on the dollar. Black people are being foreclosed on because of rigged housing and economic systems.
Michelle Dillingham will fight for you. This is Victoria Strawn. You know me, Sister V. City Council prefers investing in a soccer stadium and gentrifying our historic neighborhoods. Malcolm X said that if you don't own land, you're nothing but a squatter.
Come on, Michelle, talk to the people.
City Council is being sued for discriminatory tax abatement programs that unfairly enrich wealthy white neighborhoods. I know because I've been fighting for reform for years. Isn't it time to elect a candidate who will stand up for the people over special interests? Vote for me, Michelle Dillingham, Democrat for Cincinnati City Council.
Paid for by Dillingham for Council Committee.
You'll never feel the way I feel. You don't know if my love is real. Baby, listen to me, here's the deal. When you're not here, I'm not the same. I'm needing a new chapter, babe. Been stuck here in a bed for days. I've been staring at the telephone, cause when you're gone, I miss your face. Later clock, body talk. There's no need to bring it up. Nothing you say makes it better. Wrecking ball, tear apart. Issues left behind, restart. Nothing you say makes it better. Hey, bring it right back to me, baby. I know we've been here be too much, but I'm confident we'll make it through. I'm here for you, you're not by yourself. Late o'clock, body talk, there's no need to bring it up. Nothing you say makes it
All right,
better.
good morning, everybody. Just a quick break. Come on back. Welcome back to you. Welcome back. Don't forget, coming up to this evening at 6 p.m., this will be the last of the Cincinnati City Council series for this election season. The My Vote Matters virtual town hall city council forum. You've got many decisions to make. You got like 34, 35 individuals that are running for city council. So let's take these opportunities as much as possible to get as much information as possible before we make these votes, okay? And that'll be at 6 p.m. You can watch it live on Facebook. You can watch it at the Cincinnati NAACP's Facebook page. But you can also watch it right here on CDM as well, all right? And I will be your moderator. Looking forward to it. It's been very interesting. Hell, I've learned a lot just sitting back and listening to help me make my own personal decision as to who I want to vote for. All right, so good morning to you. Good morning, everybody. We're live, local, and vocal. We've been talking about primarily this case coming from Dayton. And I want to get your opinion about it. What Adrien, Broner, and law enforcement have in common, and that is anybody can get it. Adrien Broner, he titled himself the Can Man, meaning that anybody can get it in the boxing ring. African Americans, Mexicans, Hispanic Americans, anybody can get it. And in my observation, it's the same way of law enforcement. Anybody can get it. I've seen videos of any and everybody getting slammed around. It depends on the scenario, depends on the officer. But we broke down a video. I did the slow-mo for you. We talked about it. I've given you my thoughts. We've heard from people from the community. There's a lot of chat in here as well. And I want to get your thoughts about it. And I want to provoke some thought here. After seeing the video, do you believe that Mr. Clifford Owensby did anything wrong? Did he help in any way escalate the situation? I would say yes, he did. I would say that I put most of the blame on the officers. I think they escalated it, and there's question marks about whether he should have been stopped at all and whether he should have even been asked to get out the car. There's question about that. I get it. But at some point in that video, in that scenario, you clearly hear the officer saying that he would help Mr. Owensby get out of the car because Mr. Owensby stated that he was a paraplegic, and Mr. Owensby chose to stay in the car. Is that an escalation in your opinion? 513-873-7134. And I know the popular thing to say is, nah, they was dead wrong. I understand it. I understand it completely. But what would have happened if Mr. Owensby would have said, okay, you gonna help me out? And let the officers help him out. They would have put him out either on the ground or they would put him back in the cruiser, either way. Would it have ended the same way with him being dragged away? Something tells me no, it would not have ended the same way. I don't think it would have ended the same way. But what do you think? 513-873-7134. And when you see these images like this, man, it just seems so dehumanizing. It just makes you mad, don't it? I see it's like this. I don't care what the scenario is. I just get pissed. And I understand why, Black people are reacting in the way that they do. You got every right to react that way. Based upon the history of what's happened in this country, and quite frankly, probably to you or your family members. This ain't American history. This is right now. Oh, you might know somebody that was treated this way. It could have been you. I myself I've told my stories of dealing with law enforcement and how I just hate to deal with them, period. I hate to go to the courthouse. I never want to, unless I'm doing business, and even when I'm doing business, I don't want to go to the courthouse. I don't want to be nowhere around them because things just seem to go wrong. Look at this, just dehumanizing. The man's pants is coming down, just dehumanizing. Just dehumanizing. Have you ever been in a situation like that where law enforcement asked you to pull out or pulled you out of your car or asked you to step out the car and maybe you're face down in the asphalt or you're sitting on the curb with your hands behind your back, feeling crazy? Sister Iris writes, you can have money in a bag. I agree with you. The police found $22,000, $400 on you. OJ writes, that's profiling. You might be right, brother OJ. You might be right about that. And Brother OJ is a former Cincinnati police officer. I hope you don't mind me saying that. So I only say that to say that he is speaking from a qualified position. Deborah writes, police are trained to be violent animals. The point at which they grabbed him by his hair, they were wrong. Okay, I'm with you on that. I agree. Susan writes, he did escalate the situation because he was obstinate in the beginning and scoffed at an officer to assist him in exiting the car. However, it is unreasonable to expect that he should have crawled out of the car on his hands. Some other accommodation need to be reached. So you think it's unreasonable for a paraplegic man to walk on his hands? Okay. OJ writes BS charges. I agree with you, brother OJ. This seemed like BS charges to me. He wasn't even charged with anything. He was cited for failing to restrain a child in the back seat and having a tent on his windows. To me, that's kind of like, let's just write something down. You know, we did all this stuff and made these actions with this man. We got to put something on paper here. That's what it seems like to me. You know what I'm saying? He was also cited for obstructing official business and resisting arrest, but to this point has not been charged with either offense. So he wasn't charged with anything. So y'all did all of this and didn't even charge the man with anything seriously. You just giving him tickets. You doing this for tickets? It just makes the whole situation seem even more wrong. It makes the whole situation seem like it never should have went down like that. I agree. So those charges will get you dragged out of your car. I don't think any of those charges are a felony. I agree with you. Nat writes pretextual pretextual stop. For the people out there that are against qualified immunity, we got a little education this morning. And Sister Iris saying, like, look, you know, if you want to do something about that, you got to do it at the state and federal level. If officers didn't have qualified immunity, would we see a different reaction from them? I would say, yeah, absolutely. If they know they can be held personally responsible coming out of their pockets and not the city or the taxpayers paying for it, oh, hell yeah. You're going to move a little differently. You're going to move a little differently, a lot differently. May writes, what if he had just got his disability check? You know, the lump payment. You know what? I don't really care about the money. You know what I'm saying? Because you have a big bag of money is not necessarily suspicious to me per se. Like, I can get it. I understand it. But I mean, like somebody else said, it ain't illegal for you to have $22,000 in a bag. That's your money. That's your money. I don't know what you did. You could have hit the lottery. I don't know. I don't know what you was doing. You could be selling. I don't know what you could be doing. You know, it could be something totally legal. I don't know. Tiffany Daniels writes, that whole scene. I'm with you. OJ writes, that's a citation. They were fishing. Absolutely, that was. The charges say a whole lot. Crystal writes, man, I'm sick of people blaming the police for doing their jobs. I have officers in my family, and they're not bad people. Some are and not are. Some are not all. I agree with you. May writes, where is the supervisor he asked for? Good question. Because what the officer said was, we'll bring the supervisor once we get you out the car. Did the supervisor ever show up? That's a very fair question. It's a very fair question. Let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Nate. Excuse me, it's Pat.
Hey, good morning, Pat.
Hey, I got several questions, and I keep putting them in the stream. First of all, I didn't hear him asking for his ID, no registration, nothing. That's one. Number two, they said they saw him come out of a drug house. Was he walking? Did somebody carry him out? I mean, I don't know any of that stuff, but to drag that man out by his hair, that's just wrong. And I don't think they followed protocol. No way, form, or fashion. So I just got questions that the video is just not showing. I mean, that's all I had to say. I just don't think they followed protocol. No license, no registration. Did they see him walk out to know that he's not a paraplegic? Did they see him get carried out? I mean, we just don't know those things.
All fair questions, Pat. Thanks for the call.
All right.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
most def. Yeah, she's like, well, how they know How they know that he was coming from the drug spot? Was he obviously wasn't walking out because he's a paraplegic. Was he just driving away? Did they know he was a paraplegic? Because sometimes people play games like that. Look at that. You see the officer walking the opposite way, right? Oh, this is serious. He's going back and forth. This is when the officer is telling him to get out. And he starts calling somebody like, look, man, the officer is trying to pull me out the car, dude. I ain't trying to get hurt. And you can see another officer. So there's at least 3 officers there, at least 3. So now here's the point where he's like, look, you coming out. Now they're struggling back and forth. Now, what is that right there? That's not a weapon. Oh, see, this they go on and they proceed to take him out the car. Thank you for the call, Pat. Good morning to you. Nikki writes, walking on his hands on the road. Yeah. But you know what? I said that was a possibility, but going back, the officer said they would help him out. And they said, listen, we'll help you out the car. Come on out. But you're getting out the car because we want the dogs to sniff your car to see if you got any drugs or guns or something like that, right? All under the banner of the war on drugs, right? Which is the bigger evil in this situation? Somebody said it was the war on drugs. Is the bigger evil police officers that might go too far? Is the bigger evil drugs in the community or illegal guns in the community? Or is the bigger evil this overall war on drugs? You tell me. 513-873-7134. Let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome.
Hey, good morning, Nate.
Hey, what's up, Brian?
Nothing much. Just listening in, for a while, for days, for weeks. I enjoy the show. I think there's some other questions here that get ignored. If you believe that cops are responsible or reformable, then you will spend your time trying to reform them. That's a logical flow from that decision, from that idea. I don't think they're reformable. So in that case, I think we should be fighting to jail them when they carry out these things. They should get maximum sentencing for carrying out acts that lead to our demise, our pain, and our hurt, and put most of our energy there. They don't get penalized. That's the problem. And some people think, well, if you attack their pocketbooks, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's fine. But then only thing that's going to happen is insurance is going to be created for cops. That's already happened on the West Coast, where when you eliminate or when you start to introduce this idea that cops are now responsible for some aspect of financial things, then you get a Geico or a what do you call it? One of these insurance things that created for cops. That's all that's going to happen, because this society does what it needs to defend cops, and it monetizes and commodifies needs that get created. So let's stop that, and let's start putting our energy into jailing these assholes. The second part, I'm tired of us asking ourselves, are we doing something to aid these killers? You wouldn't say that if Jeffrey Dahmer was sitting, well, what did you do to set him off? There's these things that the cops are carrying out time and time again that are acts of disrespect if it's only verbal, or things that would be normally criminally chargeable if it was you or I who did it. This is where I just think we're asking the wrong questions. The cops could have got a medic. They're not qualified to pull somebody out of a car who's paraplegic. The thing that you saw that they were, on his lap was part of the equipment that he needs to actually get out of the car. So these are the types of things that irk me. And, again, I've got nothing against people who want to fight against qualified immunity and stuff like that. but the pocketbook is not where it's at. We live in this society where we're told that it's as simple as that. And this is not going to be the solution for this matter, in my opinion. And I explain why. Also, and this is just a broader human point. I'm not trying to make a stand here or act like, it's the end all be all. But if you quote unquote saw him in the quote unquote drug house, all of which is not factual or proven, the man is paraplegic. Can a man get some weed if he's in pain or something like, you know what I mean? Like, just on the strength of like, this is who you're going after. This is who you called 3 cops to deal with, and probably more. Yeah. So this war on drugs thing is I very much agree with that. Like, this is not while there's aspects of it poisoning our community, and there's that side of it, which I completely agree with. And I think only the community itself can expel these kinds of things. And the community will only rise to expel those kind of things when we gain a confidence in our collective power. And we only gain a confidence in our collective power when we start to organize collectively outside of these structures that are set up to demand things we want. As which has been evident if you look at the figures of crime during the civil rights movement and every major social uprising in the United States. Crime goes down. Why? Because we know and we start to realize we have a different alternative to the antisocial elements that the society gives us to cope with it. So anyway, these are just some things to think about. Like, let's start putting more eggs in the basket of jailing these people and getting maximum sentencing, not these side things that are in my opinion, what do you call them? Not obstacles, but things put in our way to get to for us not to focus on the main issue, which is maximum punishment, firing, and prosecutions when these things happen, directly for the cop that did it, not for what may happen in the future, not so it doesn't happen again. Nah, the one that did the wrong needs to be punished. So I'll just stop there, Nate. Appreciate the show. Congratulations on the NAACP award. They find, I love it when they get one for somebody who actually does work, and not just sit on boards and do that kind of stuff. You in the trenches doing your thing. So shout out to you.
All right, Brian, thank you for that, brother. Appreciate it. Appreciate the kind words. All right, 513-873-7134. Trenches, I don't know. I do what I do. It's people out there on the streets that's really doing it. And they deserve all the work and the praise. I'm just trying to exercise my talents the best way I can. All right, 513-873-7134. That's my number. Now, the only maxim/rule is that you open your mind before you open your mouth. That's it. That's it. I keep getting a call from Hawaii. I don't know who the hell's calling me from Hawaii. Let me see here. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Nathan. It's Chastity Bowman. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Chastity? Are you in Hawaii?
No.
Oh, okay.
Just not incognito.
Oh, okay. You got one of those numbers. Okay. I'm like, who the hell's calling me from Hawaii?
I wish.
Good morning to you.
I wish.
Morning.
So, good morning. So, the first thing I want to speak on is 2 things. One, let's take the uniform off of that cop, right? And let's make this a scenario. If that cop didn't have on that uniform, what would the outcome have been, right? If that cop didn't have on that uniform, that would have been an assault and battery charge. It would have been. If you or I would have dragged somebody out of a car by their hair, it would have been an assault and battery charge. But what changes it is a uniform, right? Then you have 2, not 1, but 2 trained, professional, able bodies with full activities of their limbs trying to remove a man who technically only has half of a body and only half of the activity of his limbs from a car. and the only choice they had was to remove him by his hair? Regardless if he refused, tell me what kind of threat he truly posed. And we know that he didn't pose a threat because there was no guns found. There was no suspected drugs found in his car. There was a 3-year-old found in his car. There was a paraplegic man in that car, but he wasn't a threat. So my point is this: it's all excessive use of force, no matter how you look at it, solely because these men and women in blue are trained professionals. They are not civilians. They are trained professionals that go through a training to show them how to do these things properly. That is the problem that we're having in our communities, is because trained professionals are going against all of their training and protocols and doing things that are outside of that spectrum. That's the problem. Because if the roles were reversed and they were at a Walmart in regular clothes and they did that, it would still be assault. But the uniform changes it all. Now, the next question that I have for everybody that can hear my voice on this call, and I just want you guys just to say yes or no. How many of you are appalled by this? Or just say me. How many of you are truly appalled by this situation? And many situations alike, just like it. I really want to know, because the reason why I asked that question is, and y'all know where I'm about to go because I'm an advocate for it, every single day I get a call inside of our prisons in Ohio that this happens. Every day. Not some days, every day. That men and women are being raped, beaten, assaulted, died at the hands of officers. Why? Because there's zero accountability. There's no support for the community. And guess what? These are your loved ones or going to be your future neighbors that are being traumatized by this assault. And it's happening because there's zero accountability. There is a thing called qualified immunity that we need the community to get on board with to end that for not only police officers, but correctional officers too. This is the culture of officers. Not all of them, but see, we're not going to do that. The good cop and the bad cop, because if you're a good cop and you're not speaking up, you're a bad cop too. That's just my opinion. If you're a good cop and you see something is wrong and you don't stand up for it and you stand behind the green wall or that code of blue, then guess what? You're just as guilty as anybody else. Because if I was with somebody and they robbed the bank and I was just sitting in the car, I would be an accessory to the fact, right? So that's how I feel about the good cop, bad cop thing. Everybody's bad if you ain't speaking up and standing up and doing something about it. And you're right, Nathan. We need more people like us who are out here advocating for this to go be cops, go be correctional officers, go do that. Because the only way we're going to fix the system is if we infiltrate the system. If we put more of us in the system, we have to get behind the enemy lines, right? We have to get behind the walls. We have to put ourselves into position, because right now there's too much power. The opposition has too much power. So in order for us to break down the walls of the power, we have to become the power. And yes, I am with Iris. It is a war on drugs in our community. It has been since the 90s. We all know that. We all know that the police forces are filtering drugs and guns into our neighborhoods. How is that, Chastity? Well, I remember 2 years ago, it was the violence was really up in Avondale, and I went and I looked for this article and I read it and I couldn't find it no more. But the police chief stated that the guns that were recovered from these young people in Avondale were guns that were from the buyback program. So y'all tell me, how did the guns from the buyback program get back in the community? Or can we speak on the officer in Columbus who got caught distributing 2 kilos of fentanyl and he still has a job? Right. So we have to infiltrate this system in order to beat the system. That's all I got for you this morning. Thanks, Nathan.
Thank you, Chastity. Thank you for the call. 513-873-7134. I'll say it again. I will 100%. We need good, smart men and women generally. I don't care what their race is. Conscious people, people that's got people that's from our communities, black and white, to be police officers. Good people, people that, understand that they may have a bias and are willing to grow and check themselves. And in particular, we need good, smart, intelligent black men and women, melanated people, people from our neighborhoods, people that are conscious, people that are willing to learn, people that are mature, to become members of law enforcement, because it's a numbers game. Because in some cases, it depends on who the officer is. In some cases, you might have an interaction. It's the best interaction you ever had. You're so grateful that it's this person that responded. In other cases, you feel the exact opposite. It's the worst interaction you ever had. And you wonder to yourself, why in the hell did this person respond to whatever my situation was? And so for what I'm seeing, it comes down to the individual in a lot of cases. Now, of course, the systems and the rules, that all matters. But, our society is giving law enforcement a lot of latitude on the street. The Supreme Court has backed them up. They got a lot of latitude. They got a lot of sway. How sway? They got a lot of sway. What they say matters on the street, on the spot. Now, later in court, you may have your day and find out the officer was completely wrong. But in that moment, right then, right there, you faced with some life or death decisions or life and great bodily harm decisions. I don't remember reading that this brother was dealing with any serious injuries. I'm talking about Clifford Owensby. He's the paraplegic brother that was from Dayton that was pulled out of the car. So I don't think that I didn't read it. I don't know. I'm not telling you I know for every fact. I don't, but I haven't read that he had taken any great bodily harm, but there it is. Gladys writes, the calling out for help and your mother seemed just natural in those situations. I have wondered often if my son called on me before he took his last breath. Oh boy, Gladys, that is super deep. That is super deep. That's super deep. I'm telling you, this is so real, man. This ain't no game. What we talking about here, some of these issues, and sometimes we just having fun, but we talking about these issues like real people have been touched by this stuff. I'm always aware of that. Callie writes, I've been objective. They should have called EMT because they could have hurt him and didn't have the training to deal with that. Okay. Let's go back to the phone, shall we? Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Ivy. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. What's up, Drop? Welcome, brother.
Nothing much, man. I just wanted to call in and congratulate you on your award from the local NAACP. Shout out to the Nathan Ivy Show, Send Digital Media. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. So you keep doing your thing, brother. And I don't know what to say, Mr. Ivy. I've been rolling with you since 2018, I think. And I've seen how you have progressed, at least in this stage of your career, because obviously you had a career before you started your own podcast and your YouTube channel. And like I said, man, you keep doing your thing, brother. You got a long way to go. And a couple years ago, God wasn't through with you, so you still got more things to do. And I'm looking forward to following the rest of your career, God willing. And that's all I got, sir. So have a great show. And I will be calling again when we could talk about another subject besides more pain and suffering of Black people, which it's just sad to see. But anyway, I just wanted to call in and congratulate you on your award from the Cincinnati NAACP. Keep up the good work, sir.
I appreciate that, brother. Thank you, man. Drop is out. That's it. No, okay. He talking like a civilized human being this morning. I'm with it, man. I appreciate that. I'll say it again, man. It's really about the NAACP. It's not really about me. It's really about the work that they do. I'm just trying to exercise my talents in the best way I can for the community and for me and the family. I mean, it's real simple. But they're doing all the work. Oh, he's back here. Let me see. Brian writes, they were being sarcastic. You can hear it in their voice. They didn't believe he was paraplegic. Hey, good morning to you, Brian. Hope you and your fam doing well. I picked up on that too. Yep. I picked up on that. They were like jaded, sarcastic, like, yeah, okay, you can't walk, huh? And, from a police officer perspective, I could imagine they've heard every story in the book. They've heard every excuse, every lie there is. Human beings are something else. So I'm sure they've heard it all. Irish writes, the police never even took the car, never even looked in the car. Is that right? So they do all of that, and then they don't even do the dog. I thought they would have the dog sniff everything. They must have looked in the car because I read that they found $22,000. So somebody looked in the car. Let me see this article I'm reading here. Authorities say they found a bag of cash containing $22,450 in the car, which the K9 alerted on, which police say means it was in the vicinity of illegal drugs at some point. But all money, from what I've been told, all money got cocaine on it. And that's what I'm told. You know, that's how prevalent cocaine is. There's some debris or residue on all paper money. So, you know, they found $22,000, $400. I don't know how he got the money. I said, that's that black man's money. I'm out of my own black business. I don't know how he got the money. I'm not even worried about it. That, to me, in and of itself, doesn't mean he's guilty of anything because he got a bag of $22,000. Where is that against the law? That don't mean nothing. And you got whole canines telling you that there might be some drug residue on money. Ooh, wow, that's damning evidence right there. So I'm not really moved by any of that. It just sounds like we got to make this look good. That's what when I read that, it sounds like we got to make this look good. So, oh yeah, well, we got to hit the canine alerted on, because I think these are legal terms that when if in fact it goes to a court or a legal a courtroom situation, that maybe they can use that to explain their actions. But he didn't get arrested for anything. Officers also removed a 3-year-old child from the back seat. So, I mean, come on, man, you're a whole grown man. You see there's a child in the back seat, because if they're good police officers, I'm sure they're going to look in the back seat before they start making moves on the driver, right? So you know there's a 3-year-old or a child. Maybe you don't know the child is 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. And you still making moves like this? You're going to grab the child's father by his head and drag him out the car? Come on, man. Listen, I'm going to stand by what I said. Mr. Owensby could have chose differently, but the police could have chose differently from the very beginning. And since they got the guns and all the authority, I'm putting the onus on them. Y'all got all the authority. What's that Spider-Man line? Right? To who have great power is great responsibility, something like that. You know what I'm talking about. Shout out to Peter Parker, right? Peter Parker, or what's the brother's name? Miguel Morales. That's the new Spider-Man. The brown Spider-Man, right? To whom is given great power, you got great responsibility. Police officers got all the power. That means you got more responsibility than the average Joe. And I just feel like, I mean, again, I believe that Mr. Owensby was given an opportunity, and in hindsight, perhaps even he himself will think he should have taken it. Depends on whether he get a big bag of cash or something like that. I don't know. You know, he hit a couple stacks, or shit, he hit 100, 200 stacks. It was worth it. It was worth it. That was worth it. He might think that, I don't know, but come on, y'all. The man said he wanted a supervisor. Call a supervisor. For God's sake, there's a 3-year-old. His son or his nephew or somebody close to him is in the back seat. Come on, think about this. Yeah, it might take you a little bit of time. You might have to wait there an extra 30 minutes, but you're a preliminary law enforcement. What else you got to do? If it was worth you stopping him, then it's worth you doing the stop in the right way. That's how I look at it overall. You know what I'm saying? If it's worth you stopping the man, then it's worth you doing it the right way. Somebody says, play it again. What's up, Rolando? I'll play it again. Again, not to be over the top with it or anything like that. I ain't trying to do that. But just because, we can all have the best available information as we're talking about this, our conversation goes on. Again, you got me at least until 9:30 this morning. So just so we can all be on the same point. And again, I want you to be objective about it. Be critical of everybody. Be critical of the brother. Be critical of the officer. Be as objective as possible. Be as objective as possible, even though there's a lot of emotions around stuff like this. And again, rightly so. I feel emotions around it just like everybody else. But let's try to be as objective as possible. So I'll play it again. And this will probably be the last time, but I don't know. We'll see. I know people are coming into the stream for the first time. And you tell me whether you think the officers escalated this. Do you think that the brother, Mr. Clifford Owensby, escalated this? Is there anything that you think that the officers could have and should have done differently? Is there anything that you think that Mr. Owensby could have and should have done differently? And if so, what is that?
How old is the kid? 3. How come the kid's not in the car seat? Down the street. What's your name again? I'm Hammock. Yep, that's right. Yep, that's right. Give me 1 second, Give me 1 second, everybody. You put him down for Yeah, I'm not still going. Owensby?
So he went. The officer goes back to his cruiser, and then he tries to identify, the owner of the car, and then who's in the car. So that's what that is right there. And it seems like there's a little bit of an echo. Hopefully you can still hear it.
Yeah, I'm not still going. I can't step out of the car, sir. But you got to leave. I got help getting in. Well, I'll help you getting out. I'm gonna help you getting out. Get out. I'm gonna help you getting out. Get out. Well, I don't think that's gonna happen, sir. I don't think that.
So right there, clearly the officer says, "Well, how'd you get in the car since if you're a paraplegic?" He said, "Well, I got help." He said, "Well, I'm gonna help you get out." He said, "Excuse me? Well, I'm gonna help you get out." Excuse me? Well, I'm gonna help you get out. Well, I don't think that's gonna happen, is what he just said. Was that a mistake?
I do. I'm asking you, but I'm telling you. So it's not an option. Can I ask what's the problem? And the problem is that because your history, you might have a dog be free around the car. You have to be out of the car. I can't get out of the vehicle.
Okay, so right there, the officer is answering his question. He said, "Well, what's all this all about, man? Why is this so serious? Why I got to get a car?" He said, "Listen, we gonna run the dogs. We're gonna have them sniff your car, and to do that, you got to be out the car." Is that enough of an explanation for you? You tell me what you think.
Sir, I'm going to assist you. As someone assists you, no, you're not.
Okay. Right there, the officer says, for what it probably is about, by my count, 3 or 4 times, I'm going to assist you out of the car.
No, you're not. You're not going to touch me, and I'm definitely not about to touch me, and I'm about to go ahead and get somebody on the line, because I will. It will be a lawsuit if you put your hands on me for no reason, bro.
Well, the reason is that I'm asking you.
No. We ain't going to go there. We're about to get some people here that's about to witness what's going on.
That's right.
I cannot step out. I'm a paraplegic. I cannot. I'm a paraplegic.
Yeah, so literally the man cannot step out of the car. Now, what I was saying was that he may not be able to step out the car, but he can walk out with his hands. Is that unreasonable when you're dealing with a paraplegic? Is that unreasonable? What is the Dayton City Police Department's regulations and protocol in a situation like this? They got to have one. They should have one. That's not that uncommon for somebody to either be injured or to be a paraplegic and still be behind the wheel. You can be, as they put it, have a disability and still operate a vehicle. You can still do that. So what's the protocol? What's the protocol? What should they have done? Brian writes, why couldn't the officer just have gotten the supervisor? I agree with you. I put that out there. Like, the officers definitely had an opportunity. They had an option. And they chose to do what you're about to say.
Paraplegic, sir. Come on, bro.
Step out of the car.
I cannot step out of the car. I cannot step out of the business.
You got in the car. You can get out of the car. You got in the car.
Hello. Hey, bro. Can you come down the street to Ferguson and Grand? The police just pulled me over and they trying to make me get out the car, and I'm telling them I'm a paraplegic. I can't.
I think what you're hearing is perhaps the feedback from multiple body cameras. Maybe. I'm not sure.
Can't get out the car without no help and shit. These motherfuckers trying to fucking, they on some bullshit. Just come down the street, bring some people with cameras. Come down the street, bring cameras and bring somebody so they can witness what's going on. I'm not getting out. I just told you I'm a paraplegic. I cannot get out.
So again, the legal minds will have to tell us, man, is that enough of a reason to refuse the commands of an officer because you're a paraplegic? Like, I can understand it, but the law gonna do what the law do. So what are the rules? What are the rules? If this happened in Cincinnati, what would happen? If this was Cincinnati, Ohio, same scenario, would the police be within the rights to do what you're about to see they're gonna do to this brother?
I do not have to.
Can you call your white shirt, please? If you pull me out of here, you better expect
So here's the thing. I'm gonna pull you out and then I'll call a white shirt because you're getting out of the car. That's not an option. So you're getting out of this car. So you can cooperate and get out of the car. I'll drag you out of the car. You see your two options here?
Somebody's in their feelings. Somebody's in their whole feelings right now. But let's go back to the phones and say good morning and welcome.
Yeah, what's up, guy?
Hey, what's up, guy?
Yeah, that video's been out about a week, and I didn't watch it because, I kind of got tired of those type of videos. And then when you just playing it just now, it was the first time I heard it, with the stops and whatnot. So it's like you said a million times. The police say you're going one way or the other. You being the paraplegic, what is it? Paraplegic, his bottom don't work?
Yeah, no legs. Right.
Yeah, you're driving a car. If the police say you're getting out, you're getting out. I don't understand what dude's problem is. The police offered to help him. I think he's just appalled because of his medical condition, his physical condition. But he was given he was offered assistance, and like the cop said, well, how'd you get in? Somebody helped you in, I'll help you out, but you're getting out of the car. That's all. All this, I don't think that's going to happen. You're escalating the situation. You got the smart tongue. You're being sarcastic. That ain't the time to be playing with officers, even when especially when your legs don't work. Because you're sitting ducking there if they decide to fire in the car. So just get out of the car, little bro. I don't want to call him little bro, I don't know how old he is, but still, and $22,000. I don't care who you are, unless you're like a millionaire pro athlete. That's a kind of a grip to be walking around with. A normal person doesn't walk around with $22,000, even though it might be his money. Nobody just randomly walks around with 20 grand like that. So I'm not saying he was in anything, but I don't know anybody who regularly walks around like that with $20,000 in their pocket. Anybody who does is into something else, something illegal. So I don't care what dude's physical condition is. Cop says, get out of the car. Okay, I can't. I'm a paraplegic. How'd you get in? Somebody help me. I'm going to help you out. That's the end of the conversation. I'm getting out of the car. The resistance is they didn't charge you. They probably didn't charge you because they felt bad. But they had reason to charge him with a resistant arrest because they tell me, I need you to get out of the car. So I don't feel any sympathy for this. And now I'm mad that you played it because I told myself I'm not watching these videos, partly because you're causing your own grief in a lot of them. So that's it, B. I'm going to continue with my travels, and I'll holler at you.
All right, man. Take it easy. Thanks for the call. I appreciate all the calls this morning. What do you think? 513-873-7134. So, we got varying opinions. About this, as we can tell. Contrasting opinions, competing opinions, divergent opinions, right? Shout out to my wife people. Divergent opinions, divergent points of view. So, but what do you think? I think that the officers could have done, I put the onus on the officers, a lot of it, because they're the officers. They could have dealt with that differently. However, Mr. Owensby, when they offered to get you out the car, just get out the car. Just get out the car. You know what I'm saying? Because you're getting out of the car. That's what's going to happen. Now, you might be one of them people like, well, they're going to have to do what they're going to do, and I'm going to go have my day in court. Okay. I got no problem with that. We need those kind of warriors out there, that warrior spirit. We need that. That's a beautiful thing. Okay. But nobody can argue that Mr. Owensby didn't have an option. He did have an option, even though we can go back and forth as to whether they had a rationale to stop him. It could have been profiling. It was wrong. They could have offered him more assistance in terms of having a supervisor show up and show more patience. They could have done all of that. However, at that moment, and when they said, listen, we can get you out of the car, he had a decision to make. He made it. May Rice traumatized that baby. Yeah, you never know. Fame Rice, he says that maybe they didn't charge him because they felt bad for him. Like, damn, he was a paraplegic. Damn, that looks bad. We ain't going to charge him. We ain't gonna make a bad situation worse. Could have been that. I don't know. You tell me. TNT writes, the level of incompetence is a liability to taxpayers. Agreed, it can be. It absolutely can be. It costs us, and really they pay that through insurance, a lot of money. Maurice writes, don't forget, there were colored officers present. Ice Cube said black police showing out for the white cop. Brian writes, this proves that this is systematic. It doesn't matter how much training they have if they are racist and anti-working class. They are not afraid to be cops. That's white cops are. Are they all that way? No, but they can be with little repercussions. Hold on one second. But they can be. Damn, it's going so fast here. I'm trying to read it before I lose it. That's what cops are. Are they all that way? No, but I lost it. The comments are coming in so fast, Brian. I couldn't get it in. Let me see. TNT writes, he has special equipment in his car that show his car was designed for someone with special needs. Correctamundo, right? So while they're looking around the car, these are trained officers. I'm sure somebody on the scene has seen that before. They can look in there and say, oh, this car is outfitted for somebody that's, can't walk or is paraplegic. And that would have told him that he was telling the truth. Bunky writes, so they have handicap ramps at trap houses? So you got jokes. Handicap ramps. Iris writes, police violence is a crime. I agree. Billy writes, if anyone knows anything about selling drugs, dollar amounts are round amounts and usually bound and ready to go. Maurice writes, right, Nate. Why does brothers feel they have to be thugs hanging out on the block all day? Russell writes, thank you to Sister Iris. Brian writes, the cops knew he wanted to pull him out by his locks. Very disrespectful. You could have caused some grave bodily harm. You could have damaged a man's scalp. You know what I'm saying? That's a serious thing right there. Billy writes, law says you can hold me here longer than it should take to give me a ticket, waiting on the K9 to get to the scene. QT's writes, love to hear the ads. Absolutely. TNT writes, there are different levels of resistance, and the one Mr. Owensby expressed was understandable because of his condition. Not trusting hostile officers with his care was not unreasonable, and excessive force should not have been used. Just patience and communication. I agree with you. They should have been more patient and with the brother. Just wait a little bit. Have the supervisor show up. If it takes 10, 15, 20 minutes, cool, because the citizen asked for it. You sit there in your cruiser. Maybe you box him in because you're afraid he might drive away, right? And I would say if he did, let him go. And the supervisor would have showed up. Maybe a more mature and cooler head would have prevailed, and none of this would have happened. That's why I say, ultimately, I think that the officers were more responsible. However, Mr. Owensby within that did have some responsibility for the things went down. That's just my personal opinion. We can agree to disagree. Wanda writes, hello, choppers. Hello to you, Wanda. Good morning to you. Good to see you. Anthony writes, I believe in stating to officers that I know my rights and what specific one they are violating. On the other hand, I also know that I'm not winning a fight right there on the street, not trying to get her to kill, got a family to go home to. Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to create no smoke with an officer, but I'm not going to be your modern day slave either. And I'm not afraid to go to jail. I'm not afraid. I can go to jail today. If I leave this show right now and I've got somewhere to go, and as I'm traversing or making my travels, if I get pulled over with some dumb ish, I'm not licking the pavement. If you got to process me. I'll get out. We can make bail. We'll be all right. And if I got a case, then I'll go through the proper channels with my lawyer and we'll file a case. You know what I'm saying? I'll say it again, black folks, to retain your dignity, you got to be prepared to go to jail at any moment in this country. It's a sad reality, but it's the truth. So get prepared. Squirrel your way a little bit of money if you can. I know it's difficult. Believe me. I ain't saying we got it like that at all, but I'm just saying do what you can do. So you got a little cushion. You know what I'm saying? And there's some services where you can prepay a lawyer. You prepaying them. They give you a little card. You get into a jam, you call your lawyer. You know what I'm saying? You'll walk differently in these streets. I'm telling you, you're going to feel differently in these streets knowing you got a lawyer. You got legal protection. You got bail money. You're not going to be out here wilding out. but you're not going to sacrifice your dignity just because you're talking with law enforcement. You ain't got to do all that. In fact, you ain't got to open your mouth. You don't have to say a word. You know what I'm saying? Give them the license, registration. Boom. This is my car? Yep. This your car, sir? Yep. I don't talk to law enforcement without my lawyer. Now, you might end up getting incarcerated for a short amount of time. You might have to go down to the JC and eat them stale-ass bologna sandwiches down there and deal with all the riffraff and the nonsense. But you don't have to, you can retain your manhood and your adulthood. That's what I would say you do. Michael writes, as far as him being asked to get out the car and him refusing, being a paraplegic, they had enough officers there to grab him by his shoulders, feet, legs, and bring him out. The way they did it was absolutely barbaric, less unprofessional. Okay. All right, let me take a quick pause here. I want to remind you that it's election season. And you can vote early right now at the Hamilton County Board of Elections. And that's over at 4700 Smith Road. And I would encourage you to do so. Like, once you make your decision and you know who you're voting for, just go on over there and get it over with. That way, on election day, you can be hands-free. You can sit back and just watch as the numbers come in, and whatever you do, you might, you know what I'm saying? You might not want to get caught up on election day. Check out the weather. Check a nice, beautiful day in the next week or so, and go ahead and handle that business. But there's a few folks that want you to consider them for city council. And check this out. We'll be right back.
Good morning, Choppers. I'm Scottie Johnson, candidate for Cincinnati City Council. Unfortunately, injustice remains in the city of Cincinnati. A remedy for injustice is courageous, bold leadership. I plan on bringing that type of leadership to City Hall. It's time to stop talking about it and to start doing something about it. Disparities have been in Cincinnati far too long. I'm the candidate to address those disparities. Vote Scottie Johnson for Cincinnati City Council.
Paid for by friends of Scottie Johnson.
I'm former Mayor Dwight Tillery asking you to vote for my friend, Michelle Dillingham, who is a Democrat running for Cincinnati City Council. The black population in our city has declined, pushing black homeowners out, while speculators purchase their houses for pennies on the dollar. Black people are being foreclosed on because of rigged housing and economic systems.
Michelle Dillingham will fight for you. This is Victoria Strong. You know me, Sister V. City Council prefers investing in a soccer stadium and gentrifying our historic neighborhoods. Malcolm X said that if you don't own land, you're nothing but a squatter.
Come on, Michelle, talk to the people.
City Council is being sued for discriminatory tax abatement programs that unfairly enrich wealthy white neighborhoods. I know because I've been fighting for reform for years. Isn't it time to elect a candidate who will stand up for the people over special interests? Vote for me, Michelle Dillingham, Democrat for Cincinnati City Council.
Paid for by Dillingham for Council Committee.
All right, good morning, y'all. Good morning. Welcome back. Did you know it's being reported that the Cincinnati school staff, in terms of being vaccinated, is at about 87%? 87% of the CPS staff is now vaccinated. That's a significant number. I get it. All over the country, man, people are having to make these very difficult decisions about whether they're going to get vaccinated and keep their positions and their jobs, or to get out here in this job market. That's a real difficult decision for a lot of people. And I wish everybody the best, man. You got to do what's best for you. I get it, 100%. But whether it's profit or nonprofit, a lot of these businesses are saying, look, you're not coming back into the building. You're not coming back into the building unless you get this vaccination. Is that fair? I don't know. Absolutely, I do know it is fair. That's just the way it goes. That's the way it goes. Simple as that. Before we roll out of here, man, in my efforts, man, I want my people to be as healthy as possible. I posted a meme inside of the Friends page, and it's the top 12 anti-cancer foods. And I just want to remind people that every time you sit down to eat, or you're standing, every time you eat, you're making a decision. Every time you consume what we call food, you are making a decision. And I want you to look at your plate a little differently. And I share this because I already have my own health scare. And when I look at the health disparities that relate to our folks, especially Black men, as you get older, it's a lot of them. And people is dropping like flies. And I wonder if a lot of it is something that goes down to lifestyle. But just think about it this way. Every time you sit down to eat food, or every time you sit down, you eat, you're making a decision. And that decision is what you are about to consume is either going to fight disease inside the human body, or it's going to feed disease inside your body. Because that's the decision that you're making every time you eat. Every time you consume anything, you're making that basic decision, because food heals you and it also kills you. So the next time you decide to eat, or if you're making breakfast this morning, just look at your plate. Look at what you're about to eat and ask yourself, is this going to feed disease, inflammation, hypertension, high blood pressure, elevated sodium levels, or is it going to fight that? Because there are foods that fight that. It's the food that heals, not the medicines that the doctors be trying to give you. It's the food that heals the body, along with a combination of other things. I only share this because I care about you. I don't want you to go out, be better than me. Don't go out like I did. You don't need to have a heart attack before you realize, like, oh shit, this is real. I can really die. Because that's what happened to me. I'm like, I'm too young for all of this. I'm too healthy for all of this. At least I thought anyway. So be better than me. I want you to all be around and live your best Black, excellent lives for as long. I want you to be 70, but I don't want you to be a broke down 70. I want you to be out here like on some whatever super healthy 70 type ish. That's what I want. I want you to be hitting 100 push-ups. You know what I'm saying? Being active when you get into your golden years, right? So again, every time you eat, you're making a decision. Either you're feeding disease, literally you're feeding cancer. Literally, you're feeding the disease inside your own body, or you're fighting it. That's what you're making a decision every single time you eat. And just think about that and make good decisions out there. All right, let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show. Yo, good morning. Oh, they hung up. Call me back. I'll put you back on. Yeah, I posted this. This is hopefully you can see this. Can you see that? Yeah, I posted that. Inside the Friends page. Top 12 anti-cancer causing cancer foods, not causing foods. And just ask yourself, are you consuming these foods on a regular basis? What are you consuming? And is what you're consuming good? It might taste good, but is it good for your body? Just ask yourself that. Again, I'm not trying to push my lifestyle on anybody, but God saved me for a reason. I think in part is so I can share my testimony, so you don't go out the way I did, because it ain't fun. It ain't fun, I'm telling you. You talking about a wake-up call? Ooh, it's a wake-up call for that ass. It'll wake you up real quick. But good morning. Back to your chat. Let me jump inside the chop shop and say, what's up to Sharp? Sharp writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. Ray writes, good risings all. She writes, go Ravens. Go Ravens. Fox writes, rise and shine, young stars. Ray writes, they should have been able to see the handles that allow him to drive. This is awful. Aren't they mandated to call their super when requested? I hope Tyrone take them up top and bankrupt Dayton and those officers. Is that right? CG Dubs in the house. She writes, good morning, Choppers. Good morning to you. Ray writes, paraplegics has handheld mechanisms to drive. Right. Drag him out, then call his super. Right. I was backwards. They should have did the other way around. Is there an indication on his license that he is a paraplegic? That's a very good question. That's a fair question. I would have to say, I would think there is, right? Just kind of makes sense. Just kind of makes sense. I don't know. Marisha writes, good morning. Good morning to you. Maurice writes, Mr. Owensby, called people to come where he was. If these cops were aware that there was a child in the back seat, they show no concern for the child, right? Absolutely. 100% on that. Roy writes, good morning, everyone. Like, just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should. Roy writes, if you didn't smell odor of drugs, why would you have drugs search his car if he hasn't committed any type of violation? All fair questions, man, but they're going to say it's because he was leaving a suspected drug house. Not sure what that means. And then secondly, when they ran his plates, he had a history of drug and gun offenses. So they're like, oh, 1 + 1 = 2. Sister Irish writes, dogs can sniff your car with you in them. Absolutely they can. Absolutely they can. James writes, copy. See it, brother Nathan Ivy. Sister Irish writes, the war on drugs is responsible for all of that, right? One of the worst drugs in American history has been the war on drugs, which, by the way, we're losing. Have you looked around? America lost the war on drugs, and that was because America has never really committed in eradicating drugs getting to this country. The war on drugs was nothing more than a rationale to steal black wealth. Steal black wealth. That's all it was. Just think about the tremendous amount of black wealth that's been stolen by the state since the beginning of the war on drugs. Court fees, impounding your car, taking all your possessions, fines, lawyer fees. I bet you it's into the trillions of dollars that has cost black America. I bet you it's into the billions of dollars in terms of the loss of black wealth as it relates to marijuana charges, lost wages, losing your job. And now it's legal. I'll say it again. That's why here in Ohio, when we go legal, black entrepreneurs should be at the tip of the spear. That's a part of reparations right there. That legal drug money, that's reparations. But just think about it. Think about the trillions of dollars that has been stolen from the black family collectively over some damn plants, over marijuana, or over some other drugs. And then also used to incarcerate us, separating the black man from the black woman, which leave the black woman out here all by herself. You know what that means. I mean, just think about the disastrous domino effect that the war on drugs has had primarily on our community. That's why I'll say legal marijuana is a part of the reparations plan. When it goes legal in Ohio, black people, and again, right now, this conversation in the State House, and I want to have a conversation about it, but I want to get some people that's close to it. I'm still working on that. So we can have a conversation about what's happening here in the state, because there is some movement in the state of Ohio you need to know about in terms of opening the door for more people to be a part of the legal marijuana trade. I say it should be black entrepreneurs, because the war on drugs, the war on plants, everybody plant-based now, but the war on plants was paid by us primarily. I've never seen those kind of a statistical analysis. I've never seen an analysis done on how much money that's cost black people in terms of dealing with the war on drugs. We don't know. That would be I'd be very interested in hearing that. TC writes, or reading that, it should come out the police budget. Angela writes, they did help him out by his damn hair. They need to be reprimanded for this period. Kush writes, didn't he request a supervisor? That's his right. Billy writes, if he has a good lawyer, anything they would have found would have been tossed because it was an illegal stop. Suspicion is not a crime. Letty writes, good morning, Nathan Ivy and the Choppers. Let me see. I'm trying to catch here. Nakia writes, if he was coming out because he was buying legal drugs, he wouldn't have been coming out of the dispensary. Let me see. marijuana is not a drug. It becomes a drug when chemicals are added. Is that true? QT's right. Dayton is a poor city, one of the poorest in Ohio, so all of the houses are dilapidated and the police have to work real hard to arrest the poor. Dale Rice, I disagree with you partially. This country is all about money. Crystal Rice, case by case, yes. QT's Rice, ain't no real big drugs. Ain't no real big drugs there except that dog. Brian writes, the media trenches. Okay, I appreciate you, brother. I just like to give credit where credit is due. You know what I'm saying? But I appreciate the love, though. I really do. Should be a fun event. I'm looking forward to it. Me and the wife, you're going to have a good time celebrating the NAACP and all the other awardees. Maurice writes, get a job or start a business. Kathy writes, it's probably Ken Lawson calling from Hawaii. I got Ken's number, so his name would have came up. That's hilarious. I didn't know who that was. Folks write, folks, it's in our citizenry to be the change we're looking for in deeds. Absolutely. Absolutely. Angela writes, I've been assaulted by an officer. Long story short, I defended myself. My mom and children went to jail for assault on a police officer and won in court and was found not guilty for whooping that officer's ass. When you step outside the law, you like everybody else. You like everybody else. Let me catch up here because I'm reading comments from nearly an hour ago. Let me catch up. Daryl writes, yes, it's noted on the license plates. It makes sense, right? I think so. Callie writes, he should have had a handicap decal on the license plate. Right. Right. Smart, intelligent people, man. Smart, intelligent people. We are here on our Sherlock Holmes type ish. Smart, intelligent people. Absolutely. Crystal writes, the TV series Snowfall be right point. Some federal government officials are drug dealers. Now, y'all gonna want to take my black card. I think Donnie said it to me already about this, but I haven't watched Snowfall. So I'm not hip to it. I want to remind you, coming up this evening at 6 p.m. will be the last in the series of virtual town hall meetings presented by the NAACP and the Prince Hall Masons. I'll be your moderator. We'll be talking to city council candidates. So tap in and just get a sense of who these people are. We got a decision to make. And endorsed and not endorsed, white, black, Democrat, Republican charter, I'm open to any and everybody. I want to hear what they have to say. Well, almost any and everybody. There's at least one clown member of city council right now, Bessie Sunderman, who absolutely does not deserve to be on city council. She is a negative force, in my opinion, on council, and we can do better. If we got to do a white female Republican, we can get a whole lot better. We can get somebody that, okay, they're Republican, cool, but they're not trying to like sow division and kick up a lot of chaos. You know, we can do better. We deserve better on city council than that. The clown show needs to end. If we're going to do a whole new council, then let's do a whole new council then, you know, and remake it in the image that we think that we want for terms of local leadership. And for me personally, I don't need a clown. We did all of that already. Do I still have it? Yeah. We don't need this. We don't need this. We can do a whole lot better. I'm sure she is personally a nice person. I'm sure she is a sweetheart personally. Very intelligent. I'm sure all the great superlative things you would say about Bessie Sunderman. But in my humble opinion on city council, it's a no for me. It's an emphatic no. And we don't have time for these games back and forth, or these Game of Five, Game of Thrones. We don't need all that nonsense. We need equity, policy, and tangible for the people. That's what we need, period. If you're not about that, we don't have time for you. We don't have time for the nonsense. That's just me. That's just me. Callie writes, I live in Mount Healthy. Can I go to the board to vote early for my healthy elections, which I don't know nothing about? I just moved out here. Can someone direct me? That's a really good question. I would have to say yes. I'll have to say yes, that you can. I mean, that's still in Hamilton County. If you're dealing with county-wide issues, I'd have to say yes. That's a really good question. Somebody with more information will have to answer that. Somebody will have to answer that. Anthony writes, but Bessie has a black friend. all of them do, right? That's hilarious, but she's got a black friend. That's my time. I really appreciate you being here. I'll be back and hopefully better than ever tomorrow morning, bright and early at 7 a.m. We'll chop it up on people, politics, and pleasure. Never know who we'll be talking to. Never know what we're talking about, but hopefully it'll be something that'll be interesting, right? The Nathan Ivey Show is your morning destination for interesting conversation. So with that, I'll leave you with our motto, real simple. We'll say it together. Winners focus on winning, and losers focus on winners. So stay focused and stay winning, and we'll talk real soon. Until then, I'm Nathan Ivey, and I'm out.
Good morning, Choppers. Scottie Johnson, candidate for Cincinnati City Council. Unfortunately, injustice remains in the city of Cincinnati. A remedy for injustice is courageous, bold leadership. I plan on bringing that type of leadership to City Hall. It's time to stop talking about it and to start doing something about it. Disparities have been in Cincinnati far too long. I'm the candidate to address those disparities. Vote Scottie Johnson for Cincinnati City Council.
Paid for by friends of Scottie Johnson.
Yeah. Talking to my mirror like I love you so much. Curving on my critics like I heard you, so what? You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the man. Tally all the I ever gave on my head. Lately I've been living like I can't take a loss. They ain't wanna help me, that's what made me a boss. You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the man. We don't give a that's what they don't understand.
I'm back again like flu season. I broke records while loose leafing. I'm coming down my roof, leaving. Don't give a I don't care. Did the for my lonesome. No wonder now I'm on one. No shortcuts on that long run. All I really want is my share. Get on my God, on my totem is nothing. In the discussion, for the feelings I throw on my pain on percussion. The disgusting. I hear them bragging about that they did, and it do not move me, not in the least. They ain't been dropping no seeds in the soil, but swear that you almost spotted the feast. I've been on go mode, showboat, rowboat, wave ride. Cool shorty, too naughty, pool party, wet for the face ride. Annie up, penny down, hand me down, thrift store, old drip. New money, too funny, old shorty, talk about old. I'm on they now, can't get a pass now. I'm a cash cow, keeping it brash now. It's trash now, I'm a spaz out. I've been killing my lows and living on highs. You see in the skies the proof. You could just see in my